Council for November 19th, 2014. My understanding is that 2 council members are calling in via telephone. Who is on the telephone?
Me, Laura.
Councilwoman Pastor. Is Councilman Valenzuela available? Is he on the telephone yet? He may be appearing soon. Okay. With that, we'll begin today's meeting with an invocation. Our invocation will be provided by Pastor Hector Ortiz from Joy of Life Family Foursquare Church. If you are able to, please stand.
Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. Lord God of heaven and earth, we just ask you to bless our leaders today, that you would give them a spirit of wisdom and understanding and discernment and insight, even beyond their years, Lord God, that they could lead our city well and that there would be peace in our land. Lord, I just ask for blessing upon this meeting today. I ask for blessing upon the people that are here and blessing upon our city. I thank you, God, for all these things. In the wonderful and powerful name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Pastor Ortiz. Mr. Lopez, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In advance of today's formal meeting of City Council, our first piece of business is to operate as the Assisted Housing Governing Board. For that purpose, we do have one additional member who joins us for that purpose, Mr. Amador Lopez. Thank you for being here. Could we call that meeting to order? Roll call.
Board Member DeCiccio. Board Member Gallego.
Here.
Board Member Gates. Board Member Lopez.
Here.
Board Member Nowakowski. Board Member Pastor.
Here.
Board Member Valenzuela. Board Member Williams. Vice Chair Waring. Chairman Stanton.
Here. Do we have a motion on the minutes from our last meeting, September 17th, 2014? Mr. Lopez.
I move the approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the meeting minutes. Any comments? All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
That item passes unanimously. There is proposed resolution for the city manager to submit a Section 18 disposition application to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development regarding 50 single-family residences in the HUD Scattered Site Program. Mr. Lopez, do you have a motion on that proposal?
Yes, I move the approval for Section 18 disposition application.
Second.
We have a motion on the resolution. We have a second. Are there any cards on that item? Any members of the council have any questions or comments on that proposal? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item passes unanimously. We have no further business as the Assisted Housing Governing Board. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Lopez, for your service on the board. Now we'll enter the formal City Council meeting of the Phoenix City Council. Can we call the roll for the formal meeting?
Councilman DeCiccio. Councilwoman Gallego.
Here.
Councilman Gates. Councilman Nowakowski. Councilwoman Pastor.
Here.
Councilman Valenzuela.
Here.
Councilwoman Williams.
Here.
Vice Mayor Waring. Mayor Stanton.
Here. We have an interpreter here for folks in the audience who may need those services. Ms. Marquez, would you introduce yourself, please?
Mi nombre es Leticia Márquez. Si alguien necesita asistencia o traducción al español, por favor, véame. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Will the city clerk please read the 24-hour paragraph?
Ordinances numbered. The titles of the following ordinance and resolution numbers on the agenda were available to the public at least 24 hours prior to this council meeting and therefore may be read by title or agenda item only. Ordinances number G5888, G5960 through G5961, S41242, S41246 through S41247, and S41271 through S41302, and resolution number 21266.
Thank you very much. Next item is approval of the meeting minutes from past formal meetings. Vice Mayor Waring, have you had a chance to review the October 1st, 2014 formal meeting minutes?
Move approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Passes unanimously. Councilman Valenzuela, are you on the phone?
I am, Mayor.
I am. All right. Thank you for appearing telephonically. I think that means, no, Councilman Gates. Or almost everyone's here. Councilman Nowakowski, did you have a chance to review the October 15th formal meeting minutes for the Phoenix City Council? Oh, we will hold that till he returns. Next item is boards and commission nominations. Do we have a motion on the mayor's board and commission nominations?
Motion to approve the mayor's boards and commission nominations as amended.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Do we have a motion on the council members' board and commission nominations?
Motion to approve council members' boards and commission nominations.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Passes unanimously. Do we have citizens who are here to be sworn in as members of board and commissions? We'll do that now. If you have come to be sworn in as a member of a city board or commission, please come to my right, your left. I'll swear you in. And then please come back behind the dais afterwards, and the city council would like to say thank you in advance for your service.
So is she on the phone? I'll probably just do 1 to 21.
Double the salary. He's going to be Puerto Rican Community College leader of all the community colleges, so it's statewide. Yeah, it's a good fit. It's perfect. Yeah. So he's back in the game.
Now,
Mayor's. All right, Vice Mayor, do we have thank you everyone in advance for your service on key boards and commissions. It makes a huge difference. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion on liquor licenses?
move approval items 1 to 21.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a
Oh, I'm sorry,
second.
withholding 16 and 23. Or just 16.
Okay, 1 through 21, holding out 16. We have a motion. We have a second. I have a series of cards. All of them are in favor of the direction of the motion. Any comments by this council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 16, Councilman Nowakowski, that's in your district. Where is he? We lost it. We're going to have to hold out on that one, too. All right, we'll hold off on,
Here he is.
okay. Councilor Noakowski, the first item is approval of the minutes. October 15th, 2014, formal meeting minutes. Did you have a chance to review those minutes?
I sure have, Mayor, and I approve them.
We have a motion and a second for approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 16 is a liquor license. Councilor Noakowski, it's in your district, Dollar General Store. What's your pleasure?
After reviewing staff's report, vote to approve.
You move to approve?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I have a few cards on this item. Kamal Shia, I think it's the pronunciation, Walt Gray, and Damon Curish. How about Mr. Shia? Would you like to come forward and provide testimony on this item? Yeah, please come forward. And you have up to 2 minutes to provide testimony, followed by Walt Gray, followed by Mr. Curish. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Good to see you.
Yes, sir. My name is Kamal Shihai. I own the King's Food Mart right next door to the Dollar General. And I've been in that store for 4 years. And that store is too close to us, and there's already 2 liquor stores in the area. And this store, they took a lot of business of us already as far as the groceries and things like that. And if they get the beer wine license, they might drive us out of business because they're taking a lot of our business. They open longer hours than us, and they buy more quantities than us. And we cannot afford to, we have a lot of overheads, and we cannot afford to sell like them prices. And they were on a lot of specials, and we checked other stores in the States that they have, they approved, and they sell a lot of cheap stuff. And there is another store right across the street from me also, and he been in business longer than I do. And that area is too small to have like 4, there's a family that is applying for liquor license also, so there's gonna be 4 liquor stores in like half a mile. And that's what.
Thank you very much. So your argument essentially saturation of liquor licenses in the area. Mr. Gray is next, followed by Mr. Curish. Up to 2 minutes.
My name is Walt Gray. I'm with the coordinator of the West Side Town Hall Steering Committee. We oppose this liquor license. Mr. Shia is a charter member of our group, but I am also a member of 3 different drug and alcohol prevention coalitions as a representative of the West Side Town Hall Steering Committee. We're opposed to this liquor license because as Mr. Shia said, you'll have 4 liquor licenses in an area that cannot grow. It's surrounded by warehouses and commercial and industrial buildings. And as a result of that, you're going to double the amount of alcohol in that area. And I think that's to a detriment. I think that we asked the police department for crime statistics. We did not get them. We had a brief look at what they had. I think that's incomplete. We circulated petitions in that area. They were random in that area. And we got 33 signatures and randomly on both sides of 67th Avenue. All were opposed. We only had 1 person say that he was not opposed. Mr. Shia and Mr. Gurich say that had I put those petitions in their stores, they would have had many more signatures against the liquor license from Dollar General. Also, if this liquor license is granted, it also opens the door for Dollar General and all the other dollar stores north of I-10 in Maryville. This area is very similar to Maryville. In housing, it's John F. Long houses. It's the same income level. Crime level's about the same, all those kinds of things. Then if they get this liquor license, Family Dollar's going to want a liquor license, and then they're going to come north of I-10. Dollar General is trying to get liquor licenses in as many stores as they can. It's throughout Arizona and maybe throughout the country. And I think we'll have north of I-10 in Maryville, we'll have Dollar General, Family Dollar, 99-cent store, and other types of dollar stores that will want a liquor license. And we just have, with our vulnerable population on West Phoenix, we just have too much alcohol, and more alcohol is going to just hurt our area and lead to more crime. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gray. Mr. Hurish? Also opposed?
How you doing, Mayor? My name is Damon Haria. I own the store south of Mr. Shiha's store. I've been in the business since October of 2006. And with these $2 stores that we got in our neighborhood, it's just limited. Our neighborhood is a small neighborhood. It's a trailer park neighborhood and a few homes away from us. And our business has just been, we've just been struggling lately with these dollar stores that have been opening up. We had one open up in February of 2013, and then we also had Dollar General that opened up October of 2013, and ever since then, it's just, our business is just downgrading day by day, week by week, month by month. Our sales are just going low. And then with a liquor license for Dollar General to come through, basically that's the only sales that we have right now is basically just beer and wine. That's all our sales is so far. And then if we get them to get the license also, God forbids, we don't know how our business is gonna go after that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time to come down. Did anyone else in the audience wish to testify on the proposed liquor license for the Dollar General store at 6548 West Van Buren? Councilman
Yeah, Mayor,
Nowakowski, your motion was in favor. There was a second. Do you have any other comments?
Mayor, I just have a question for staff. Was there any protest from the neighborhood or neighborhood associations about this liquor license?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilman Nowakowski, during the protest period with the city clerk department, there were no protests filed.
Okay. And I understand about the competition. We're really here to listen to how this liquor license is going to endanger that neighborhood and what kind of an impact it would have on that neighborhood. Seeing that competition, it's one thing, and the impact of having a liquor license on the neighborhood is something else. I'm going to stand with my motion and ask for the call.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councilman. Any other comments by members of the City Council? We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yep, we're going to have to do a roll call vote.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Gallego.
No.
Gates. Nowakowski.
Yes.
Pastor. Pastor.
Yes.
Valenzuela.
Yes.
Williams. Waring. Mayor Stanton.
Yeah, so the item passes on a 5-4 vote. Next item on the agenda is
Withdrawal of 22.
To withdraw.
22 is a request to withdraw. Do we need to act on that?
Motion to withdraw. Item 22.
We have a motion to withdraw, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Next item is item number 23. This is a recommendation for disapproval from the professional staff. It's in Councilman Nowakowski, District 7. What's your pleasure? Do you want to hear a staff report?
Have staff report, that'd be
Thank you.
great.
And then we have a police department representative as well. I'll ask the detective to go next, please.
Mayor, members of the council, this request is for a new Series 10 license for a convenience store that does not sell gas, doing business as Carniceria LJH. Consideration may be given to the applicant's personal qualifications and to the location. Staff recommends disapproval of this application based on a police department recommendation for disapproval.
Thank you very much. Any questions for staff? Detective Fortune, thank you for being here.
Is there any cards, Mayor?
There is, I'm going to have the detective go first, and then there's one card from the applicant, Ms. Ramos. I'll have her go next after our detective, please.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Detective Mercedes Fortune. I'm currently assigned to the South Mountain Precinct. I had an opportunity to review the application from Ms. Ramos. And we found that she failed to provide a full financial disclosure in the sense that she advised that she had invested $60,000 into this business. And looking at her financial statements, I asked specifically about the money, and she said that she had sold a vehicle and a home approximately 2 years prior to that. I also noticed that her balances were extremely low on all accounts that she was listing, and also had questions about a couple of wire transfers into Mexican accounts. When I asked her specifically about those transfers, she could not give me a definite answer to them. She almost appeared confused about the actual amounts. In looking into Mrs. Ramos, I also realized that she was married to, and she actually placed her husband on that application as Luis Alberto Hernandez Flores. Mr. Flores has an extensive criminal history, varying from homicide in 2004 to current drug involvement. And because of those reasons, I kindly advise that that her license not be provided for her. I recommend that.
Thank you very much, Detective. Any questions from the City Council for our detective? Ms. Ramos is the applicant. Are you here? Did you wish to come provide testimony?
Hi, my name's Alma Ramos. I'm the current owner for the carniceria located on 35th Avenue in Southern. I had a previous store before over on across the street from where I'm at right now. And I had a liquor license there previously for 5 years. I never had any problems or anything with that liquor license. So now I applied to this one. What the detective just mentioned about my husband's record, everything she's saying of her statements are not true, and I have his lawyer here just in case you guys want to have any questions about that. But other than that, I never had any problems with my other liquor license. And I had it for 5 years already.
Thank you very much. Did you wish to directly address any of the specific statements made by our detective?
Excuse me?
Did you wish to, any, other than hand it over to is it your husband's lawyer or your lawyer who's here?
My husband's lawyer.
Your husband's lawyer. Any other than handing it off to him, did you specifically want to address any of the statements made by the detective in her testimony here today?
Well, I had told her that about the sale of my house, that I couldn't get a bank statement showing that I did deposit that money because it was 2 years prior. And I did have a copy of a vehicle that I sold, of 2 vehicles that I sold. And she told me she was going to go back for them. She never did. When she called me asking me for those wire deposits, I asked her why haven't she went back to the store, and she said she was working on other liquor license. That's all she said.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's it.
Okay, we don't have a card from your husband's attorney, but we're trying to make a record because the liquor board will likely be examining this case. Did you wish to testify, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, please come down for up to 2 minutes to address the statements made by our detective.
Your Honor, with respect to the criminal history of my client's husband, I would point out that she mentions a homicide in 2008 that was dismissed by the county attorney when it was going to be sent to the grand jury. The second case she mentioned was a drug case. He and 40 other gentlemen were indicted on a wiretap. The judge in that case found that the police officers were not credible witnesses and dismissed the wiretap, which caused the dismissal of all of the indictments against all of the defendants who were remaining in the case. The most recent case that I'm aware of is one from 2012, where the DEA sent in a gentleman named Chambers, who claimed that her husband had attempted to sell him heroin. Mr. Chambers, unfortunately, had committed perjury in 16 prior cases. When the case hit the front page of the Arizona Republic, the U.S. District Attorney the next day dismissed the case. So her husband has never been convicted of an offense as set forth by the Phoenix PD. And of course, as we all know, a person is innocent in America until proven guilty. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You please need to state your name and address for the record so we don't have a card.
I'm sorry,
please.
Cameron Morgan, and my address is 4295 North 75th Street, Scottsdale.
Okay, great. And you obviously know that we are not a jury, so the standard of conviction in a criminal case is different than our standard for making a recommendation to the state liquor. Our job is to make a recommendation to the State Liquor Board on liquor license applications. Councilman Nowakowski, what's your pleasure in light of what you've heard?
Mayor, going off what you just said right now, this is just a recommendation to the liquor board. The liquor board is actually the body that decides to give you the liquor or not, liquor license or not. So at this time, I would like to go with staff's recommendation with the report and information that we have in front of us. I feel very confident with this report, and I'm going to disapprove this liquor license. Second.
So motion for disapproval. We have a second. Any additional comments by members of this council? Roll call.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Noakowski.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Valenzuela.
Yes.
Williams. Waring. Mayor Stanton.
Yes, so the motion for disapproval passes unanimously by this city council. Good luck at the State Liquor Board. All right, next item on the agenda, Vice Mayor? I apologize. What number is it? 24. Councilman Nowakowski, you got a lot of liquor licenses in your district. This one is
District
also suggested for disapproval. It's Central Groceries. What's your pleasure?
Mayor, can we have a staff's report on this?
Please.
Mayor, members of the council, this request is for a new Series 10 liquor license for a grocery store operating as Central Groceries. This application was originally recommended for disapproval by staff due to a police department recommendation for disapproval. Since then, the police department has withdrawn its opposition, and therefore staff is recommending approval of this application.
And Mayor, with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve this liquor license according to staff's recommendation for approval.
Second. Get a motion for disapproval?
No,
Approval. We have a second? No cards? Any comments by members of this council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Next item, Vice Mayor. Okay, so next item is in District 7, but that's a request for, wait a minute. We're on to item 25, Councilwoman Gallego. You had comments on it. We have a motion to withdraw item 25.
Motion to withdraw.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman Gallego, you had comments. I apologize.
I did,
No?
happy.
We're good. Okay. We have a motion to withdraw 25. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. G ordinances are next, Vice Mayor.
Motion to approve items 26 and 27. Oh, separately, sorry. Motion to approve items 26 only.
We have a motion on 26. We have a second. Are there any cards on item number 26? Roll call.
DeCiccio. Gallego.
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Noakowski. Pastor.
Yes.
Valenzuela.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Mayor Stanton.
Yes, item passed unanimously. Next item, Vice Mayor.
Motion to approve item 27.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, but now the city clerk reads the title. I'm looking at our city attorney. Do we need to redraw the motions before he reads title? Could that get us in legal limbo? Good to go. Let's go.
Item 27, ordinance G 5960, an ordinance amending Chapter 36, Section 128 of the Phoenix City Code regarding pedestrian safety.
Okay. We have a series of cards on item number 27. Maybe that's the city manager. In light of, since we're going to have a lot of testimony on this item, can we get city staff to kind of give a sense of what the proposal is?
These are you, Dan. I'll ask Assistant City Attorney Patty Boland if she will lead this item. And also Assistant City Manager Milton Dahoney and Deputy City Manager Deanna Jonovich. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Dahoney.
Please, Mr. Dahoney.
Mayor, members of council, this is a safety item that has gone through the Public Safety Subcommittee, essentially having two provisions to provide for additional safety as regards to people that are jaywalking and also people that are in the median of the roadway. I'll ask the attorney to comment more specifically about the provisions.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. The amendment to the provision is the current existing jaywalking provision. It adds a section which would forbid stopping or standing in areas of the street, including medians that are not designed for pedestrians, except in those instances where the pedestrian is waiting for either traffic to clear or for the next pedestrian sign to continue crossing the roadway. But the person may not stay in the median. There is an exception for those medians. There are a few in the city that are specifically designed for pedestrians and have benches and the like. It also, the change also makes the possibility that a second offense can be charged as a criminal offense.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a series of cards, and we may have to have our professional staff appropriately respond if there are issues or concerns raised by the community member. I think some fair issues will be raised, and I want to make sure that we have the right people at the table to provide appropriate answers to those questions. Mr. Vint, Pat Vint, do you want to provide testimony on this proposal? You did not mark either favor or opposed. Up to 2 minutes.
Yes, I am Pat Vint from 8340 North 16th Street, which that's very important because we got safety problems out there that the city manager could care less. It's all spelled out here in the safety, like the lady said there. And the Constitution of the United States states that we guard our nation, protect our nation from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that has nothing to do with anything anymore. We got an idiot in the White House that's going to pass a bill that goes for illegals.
All right, Mr. Vint.
What don't they understand about what's legal and
Mr. Vint,
illegal?
the issue is about the proposal to change our ordinance relative to jaywalking and or standing in the median for people who are not just crossing the street. That's what you support or oppose, or the testimony has to relate to that issue. Go ahead.
Okay, that I will do.
Thank you.
It's very simple. Phoenix has been around for 100 years. I've been around for 84 years. You know it's not legal to jaywalk. If you get hit, you got it coming. If you get hit because you're jaywalking, you deserve to be hit. You got to think. Because they got ordinances here. Down on the second page, there's an ordinance. City Code, Section 36128, spells it all out. So here we are, taking everybody's time again, wasting millions, thousands at least, trying to come up with an idea to keep the idiots out of the street. Now, I've run into 4 or 5 of them just coming down here today, standing, begging for money because they say they're poor, they lost their job, they got a hurt leg, they got something stupid. The city ought to be able to figure this out years ago. Collect those people, give them a job. They can sweep the street. I'll pay them if they come up and, well, I don't have any weeds in my yard because I burn them all before they're a fire hazard. But anyway,
all right,
we
Mr.
got a
Vint.
nice, wonderful policeman over there. We got Shelley up here. She knows all about this stuff.
Mr. Vint, your time
Why
is
don't
up.
you people know?
We have many other speakers, but I appreciate your testimony. I'm going to move on to the next speaker. I appreciate you providing that testimony, which is what I hope is a minority opinion in our city relative to jaywalking philosophy. Brad Bridwell, you're the next speaker. Please come forward, followed by Michael Shore. Good to see you.
As well, Mayor, members of the council, thank you for having me and hearing this item out for a moment. First, I would like to say, Brad Bridwell, 302 West Vernon Avenue, Phoenix, 85003. The lieutenant and the police force did do a good job reaching out to the homeless community, find out when it really comes down to, you all know I'm a homeless advocate, have been for many years in this community. This type of ordinance has a disparate impact upon the homeless population. Recognize the public safety issue, but we know that those who are standing in the median are those who are, for whatever means, trying to survive and make their living that way while absent resources and other items to help them leave the streets and homelessness. And so what we had asked initially was that a warning system be created at a minimum that would allow an individual who was standing in the median to first be cited with a formal warning that went into the police system, which would allow the next officer, I think you're shaking your head, you recall me talking to you about that. The second warning, then you could then move to a potential violation. The problem here, I don't read that in the language. I heard the city attorney suggest that there was a secondary fine, but the language says initial fine of $250. The problem is that the cycle of fining homeless is well established in this community. We know what happens is we rack up fines on city books. Eventually, those homeless individuals end up in our programs, and we take them to homeless court, we take them to stand-down veterans court, we take them to the monthly veterans court, and we get those fines waived, and that's probably my noise, right? So we get their fines waived, and the city has just endured a cost burden for that entire time while we're helping somebody rebuild life. The other major dilemma with the subsequent violations leading to a misdemeanor, there are many affordable housing developments that restrict individuals with misdemeanors in the past 2 to 5 years, including your own Section 8 housing program designed for these individuals who need it, that will be potentially barred from accessing that housing, further producing additional homeless on the street. So we're concerned about those. We'd like to see the police work with Human Services and the homeless community about how we implement these and move more towards education-based and connection to services rather than monetary fines, which we know is just gonna cost us more money and we're gonna waive them at the end of the day anyway. Thank you.
Brad, thank you very much for your testimony. Michael Shore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Mike Shore, I'm at 653 West Alamosa Drive in Chandler, 85248, but I'm speaking on behalf of the Arizona Coalition to End Homelessness, where I'm the current chair. We realize, as Brad said, that this is a safety issue, and the safety of all Phoenicians with or without homes is in fact important to us. However, I agree with Brad that this measure will have unintended consequences and a disparate impact on the folks experiencing homelessness. I'd call attention to the recent issue in Fort Lauderdale where a gentleman, 90 years old, was arrested for feeding the homeless. I think that we've done a tremendous job with the city's leadership of addressing the issue of homelessness in this community with real evidence-based best practices, permanent solutions like permanent housing with client-centered wraparound supportive services for those who need it. And I would encourage us not to go down this road towards criminalization. We're obviously concerned about consistent enforcement. There is an element of the general public who also does fundraising in these meetings, including folks looking for money for car washes and Pop Warner football, and even firefighters collecting money in their boots. We, as Brad mentioned, had a really amazing opportunity last year when, again, with the city's leadership, the City of Phoenix Human Services and Housing Departments put 2 programs together to create a program that has enabled us to serve 45 formerly chronically homeless individuals in Section 8 vouchers. That program is done in a very innovative public and private partnership, and it boasts a 100% housing retention rate. It is a permanent solution for those folks experiencing homelessness, and very, very few of them would have been able to access that program had they had a Class 1 misdemeanor on their record and or a warrant. And if they did, we would be putting them in jail for the night to quash the warrant. And again, it's just kind of a cycle, as Brad mentioned. So we want to continue to target the city's resources to those who need these resources the most. And we really look for the city to continue its leadership in this area and hope that you'll work with the Coalition to End Homelessness and its members to address this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shore, for your leadership. I'm going to, I think both speakers asked a question about enforcement of this measure, the jaywalking or the median issue. I don't think anybody wants to criminalize people on the first time that they've had interaction with community or law enforcement. How is this going to be enforced?
Mayor, we'll first hear from the lieutenant and then from the law department on this issue.
Mayor, members of council, thanks for having me. In answer to their question, yes, I did seek input from the Mayor's Homeless Advisory Committee. It was excellent input, and we will be doing that. We will be issuing warnings. They'll be documented in our own internal record system, and that will be governed by our own departmental policy. I didn't believe it was necessary to put that into the ordinance, but it will be governed again by our own internal departmental policy.
Okay, thank you very much. The suggestion is that even getting a warning might limit individuals from accessing services to end homeless. Those that may be cited who happen to be homeless, even a warning might deny them. Deanna, I'm more looking at you. Would a, I don't know if it's an informal warning, it has to be documented so we know who the first time, second, but would a warning system on this deny an individual access to services?
Mayor, members of the council, we're currently working very closely with police department, prosecutor, and human services. A warning would not inhibit them from receiving housing. It would actually assist us in identifying a homeless individual that's out there so that we can connect them with services and make that referral. We would be working with the police department so as they're identifying somebody as homeless in the median, they could then refer that individual to human services to access the appropriate services or work with the service provider community.
And I don't want to put in, Michael, I heard differently from you. So I think the issue is whether they have to disclose something on an application if they're going to access services, whether they have been arrested. Although I think what we're hearing is that doesn't count as an arrest. I just want to make sure we're all talking the same language so we don't walk out of here with a different understanding.
So it wasn't the warning itself. We actually asked for the warning system to be in place. As long as it is in the process, we're generally okay with that. Warnings aren't a problem. It's the subsequent offenses can lead to a misdemeanor, class 1 misdemeanor, which can prohibit entry into not only your own Section 8 affordable housing, but also low-income housing tax credit projects that often you have home funds invested in and other city resources that also restrict access. So it's a
All right, thank you.
subsequent.
Okay, perfect. That makes perfect sense. Okay, so it wasn't the warning that would create the issue. It's if there was a subsequent issue and then someone was involved in the system. Okay. Any other comments on that issue? I know we have other cards by members of the council. Councilman DeCiccio.
Just one. Yeah. I think you have to have a misdemeanor. You have to have some sort of penalty. Otherwise, you shouldn't have the police involved in it. I mean, that's their job, to be involved in enforcing laws. Really, the bottom line of this is getting those individuals. I want to make sure, bring this back to what it is. You've got individuals in the median that are, they're either walking across partially, they're creating an unsafe situation for themselves, they're creating an unsafe situation for the drivers that are coming by, and they may be soliciting funds. And I would be a little amazed if the homeless community wants that to occur in our medians. I don't believe that that's what I'm hearing. And I want to make sure I hear that, because they don't want those individuals collecting and soliciting funds in the median, because it would have a direct impact with it. And we're seeing this all throughout the entire city. Is that correct?
Yes, Mayor, Councilman DeCiccio, members of the council, our ultimate goal is to ensure that homeless individuals, whether they're in the median, the park, or anywhere for that matter, are getting the appropriate services by connecting them through community resources. So we would, in fact, want to be connecting them with resources if the police does identify them in the median as a homeless individual.
Right, and it's also to drive them out of the median where they're in the right-of-ways. Is that correct?
Yes.
Which is an unsafe situation. I don't think there's anybody in this room that thinks that that's safe. Correct?
Yes.
Thanks.
Councilman Nowakowski.
I know this issue came to our subcommittee, the Public Safety Subcommittee, and there's many concerns. It wasn't just about, and homeless never came up. It was young people standing in the median for car washes on Saturdays and jumping around and almost getting ran over. There's individuals that are selling anything from newspapers to flowers, candies, and using that medium that wasn't designed for individuals to stand there. So it's really safety that was the driving force behind this. And I know that there's been some advocates for the homeless community that feel that it's an attack on the homeless community, but it's not. It's really about the safety of our children. If they're going to be standing out there in the medium, they shouldn't be standing out there for a car wash or selling candies or anything like that. So that's what the real issue is, and I want to thank our staff for working things out and making this possible and making our communities more safe.
Thank you very much. I heard maybe something slightly different from those great advocates from our homeless community, and that is they understand that if this passes, it might have a disproportionate impact on homeless. So they're asked that we formalize a warning system into the ordinance itself so that they can have confidence that people are going to be told first, please stop doing this. It'll be documented, and then at a later time, if they continue, then they would go down a different road. In addition, of course, police have great experience through the required the prior system. I think we called it something officially, but where our police have a great deal of contact with individuals who may be experiencing homelessness, and they do it, in my opinion, in a wonderfully sensitive way, whereas often as not, they'll take someone to receive services to help them as opposed to go through the criminal system when they have discretion. And I think our police officers do a pretty good job of using their discretion the right way. And I know if this passes, in addition to the warning system, they're going to use great discretion of people who may be homeless, and they'll ascertain that through questioning and access services first and foremost. The police have a great interest in making that happen. I do have additional cards, so before we go to a motion, I do want to hear from those cards. Mr. Clark, you're opposed to this item. Please come forward. Up to 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. And before I get started, yes, my name is Leonard Clark. Lived in Phoenix all my life, except for a few years in the Army. But I'm not trying to say anything personally against you, but we're leaving out one big elephant in this room, and that is the Super Bowl is coming. I spoke with homeless people, and I think they were correct when they told me it's all about the Super Bowl. You know, in the Victorian age, they used to take their disabled family members and hide them up in the attic, if you will, because they didn't want to show the blemishes of the family. The city of Phoenix is like a family, and the Super Bowl is coming. Why an emergency clause right now? Why? Why not more time for debate? Why criminalize the mentally ill? You say, well, we have the homeless shelter where they can go. Well, first of all, I tried to help several people. I had one of my friends say, why don't you try, Leonard? Why don't you go out and help them? I've tried with a man, but in the end, he does not want to. He is mentally ill. And when you take a mentally ill person who can't even help themselves, that's their only food, and they won't go into the shelter because we're not working on a way to declare them mentally incompetent so they can get the food they need, you are condemning the poor. You are criminalizing the mentally ill. The Super Bowl is coming to town. Come on, why an emergency clause where this goes in immediately to effect? You know that this has been overturned in Portland, Oregon. This has been overturned in Maine. The same issue came up. Oh, it's for the safety. I thank the city staff, but none of that information specifically addressed anybody. I saw not one specific case of a pedestrian standing in the median getting hit. In Portland, in Maine, both federal judges said this is limiting free speech. Now people say, Leonard, come on. Well, in this day and age, now I hear the word criminalizing, maybe they'll be turned down. We throw mentally ill people in jail. This is just another measure. The Super Bowl is coming to town, and we're trying to tell them, hey, we'll put on our best face for Phoenix. We're going to hide our blemishes. Well, that leads to the deeper question. Why do we have people out in the medians? Now, I know, conservative, liberal, I'm not going to get in that box. They're lazy, they don't work. You know what? Some people actually are hungry. They are mentally ill, like the individual I'm trying to get into a shelter. He is schizophrenic. We cut back on our funding. And so what do we do here for the Super Bowl, our Super Bowl God that is coming to town? The NFL, the not-for-profit organization, we have to go ahead and hide our homeless. But you see, what gives it away here, and I think all of you are very nice people. Thank you for letting me speak. And I thank the veterans, that I can even say this. In some countries, I would be gagged right now, sent out, and probably shot or jailed. But the fact is, why is it an emergency? Why? This is not common. I come to these city council meetings. It's because multi-billion-dollar industry, the NFL Super Bowl's coming to town. The eyes of the world are upon Phoenix, Arizona, and we are ashamed. We are trying to hide those in our community that maybe don't put on the best face for the city of Phoenix. This should not be an emergency clause. I heard confusion on the part of the mayor and some other members. Now we're talking, well, maybe they will be criminalized. When you criminalize somebody who doesn't even know what's going on because they're hungry and they're asking for food, and by the way, not one specific case, again, has ever been shown that a person standing in the median in the city of Phoenix has been hit. It's not for the children. It's not that. And another thing, it starts to limit our freedom of speech. The people with the money, the dark money people, it's harder and harder. Pretty soon, I won't be able to speak here. I'll be told, shut up. Citizens can write down one word and then not. So please, I plead
Leonard, right
to you.
on cue. I got to tell you to stop only because the time is up. I
All
apologize.
right, but I want our citizens to know, though, the mayor, the council, we are veterans. We're getting them off the
Thank you very
street.
much.
We're doing all these things, but this, please,
Thank you very
don't
much.
pass this.
Leonard,
Thank
and
you.
I appreciate. Thank you very much, Leonard. Let me respectfully disagree on a couple points. First, you raised some very important issues, many of which don't apply to this case. The issue here that is being addressed is median. Individuals on sidewalks, which is maybe what you've seen in other locations. This is not affecting anybody on a sidewalk, and I don't think you'd have the support of this council on that. This is the issue of median only. And I think the issue of confusion that you raised only had to do with the fact that the request that we put in a more formal way, the warning system, into the ordinance. I think that was a very reasonable, in my opinion, a very reasonable request of our leaders, advocates for individuals experiencing homelessness. Louis Schmidt, you want to speak next, up to 2 minutes, followed by Diane Barker.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm not as passionate as our brother Leonard Clark, but I agree with a lot of the statements he said. The gentleman who spoke up, one of the first speakers who spoke up, he brought up good points. But unless you've been homeless in the city, unless you've been homeless any time in your life, then you don't know. It's easy to make a policy like this, but as a child, I was homeless. I did have to eat out of trash cans and dumpsters, so I applaud the police department for trying to do something, because this is, at the end of the day, this is about safety. But what you're creating is a means for people to be penalized, financially, and probably on the criminal side too. But if they don't have the means and the ways to pay for this, you're just creating, like what he did earlier, you're going to create a process where people don't have the capabilities to pay these fines. And at the end of the day, when you're homeless, whether it's the sidewalk or the median, you're going to go to a location where you're going to, if it's a matter of eating or getting a fine, you're going to do whatever it takes. So, it's going in the right direction, but if you read the last sentence on here says that the police department is ready to start doing this, enforcing this. Well, with being down over almost 500 officers, where are we going to get these officers from? We don't have those officers to do that. And what's going to happen with the way that Chief Garcia has been acting lately, anybody who doesn't do, a police officer who doesn't enforce some of this is going to probably get in trouble for it. So again, we don't have the staffing levels for it. We don't have the enforcement levels for this. So I applaud the department for trying to, do the right thing by keeping people safe from the medians. But at the end of the day, it hurts a certain demographic, and they're not going to be able to pay these fines. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Ms. Barker is next, in favor of the item, followed by Robin Mofford, in favor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Diane Barker. I'm a U.S. citizen with all full rights, and I reside in District 7. I'm supporting my councilman. I thought he said it in a nutshell, is that what we need to focus on really is the fact of safety. I believe what he was saying when they studied the issue, that was what it is. We need to have government that will step up and be the adult in the room and can enforce. We have a lot of compassionate people. They're here today. A lot of people, myself, we want to help people that are down on their luck or homeless. And the best thing we can do in our enforcement is also to see the people that truly need to have those services are directed to them. it's a danger. Anybody that has been, for example, public transit, certainly a school bus driver, is the first thing that you learn is safety first. And you know, there's cuddly feel-goods, all the children, you just love to cuddle them. Well, you can't do that, not in the school basis, but the fact is that even knowing that they need that and food, what you do is you get them number one safe home, and that's what the City of Phoenix needs to do. We do not need any more distractions on our highways with people that are in medians. And actually, this brings up also the fact, if anybody looks around town, we have people standing in the tracks of the light rail. The fact is, that's a danger, and that should be enforced too. We need to have more knowledge on where people can safely pass. The other thing that maybe people have forgotten, outside of the loss that we can have, is the fact the city pays for infrastructure from these accidents that happen. Big time. Let's be safe.
Thank you very much. Robin Mofford is next in favor, followed by Sherry Dudek.
Mayor and council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak before you on this topic. Do you need my address with that name, or does I just go forward?
We know who you are. Go.
Thank you. I appreciate all the passion that was brought before you, but in all of my 35 years that I've worked in the position to preserve the safety and well-being of our communities, I've worked for all people. It doesn't make any difference. There's no discrimination. I think that we can look at this position to actually see that as the City of Phoenix grows and we have more transportation issues that we're trying to resolve, we also have been encouraging our pedestrian pathways, our light rail system. If we want to be able to encourage additional transportation, the light rail system and pedestrian pathways, we need to make things safer for all. Not just for one type of person or another type of person, but for those persons that are pedestrians along with our motorists. As you explain, if there are incidences, it's not just an issue of whether or not the pedestrian is a victim, your motorist is also a victim. I would like to see us be able to look at this openly, understand that this is an improvement towards the growth of the City of Phoenix, and that we continue to look at things that need to be revised and amended, and this is one of those situations, and I appreciate your position and support to request the amendment for Code 36-128. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mofford. Robin Dudek, followed by Bev Koenig. I said, I apologize, Sherry Dudek. of
That's
course,
okay.
I apologize.
Sherry Dudek, 3005 West Selden Lane in Phoenix. I just want to say that I support this amendment. I do believe in safety for not just the pedestrians, the homeless, or mental ill, or anyone else who's out there, but for us that are in motor vehicles. And I have personally seen an accident at the medians twice, and I went to the subcommittee meeting to hear about this ordinance so that I would understand it, so that I knew what it stood for, and I am in favor of safety for all, and that's what we need to keep in mind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dudek. Beverly Koenig.
Hi, my name is Bev Koenig, 4132 West Kaler Drive, 85051. Our neighborhood has considered this issue, was discussed at our last neighborhood meeting, and the board has also, and I guess we're really concerned about this issue because we've had at least one pedestrian death and several accidents due to the pedestrians standing in the middle of the roadway, even congregating there. I think it's a very important amendment that the city is doing. We also, I really appreciate the point that Mayor Stanton has made about the warning system, because this should not be seen as an anti-homeless issue, but really is a pedestrian safety issue. There is no safety if someone's standing on a median that's 3 feet wide. We need to protect all citizens regardless of that. So I commend the council for looking at this as a excellent compromise to try and respect the different points of view on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Koenig. Also in favor, not wishing to speak, Ms. Diane Harris, Ms. Mary Obrochta, Frank Steinmetz, Joyce Steinmetz, Frank Boudreau, and Mike Sims, representing North Glen Square Neighborhood Association. Did anyone else here in the audience wish to provide testimony on this proposal? I'll now turn to Councilman Williams to see if she has a motion, and then we get a second, and we'll have a discussion on the item.
Mayor, this has been a topic of discussion for at least a year and a half because it has become a major problem on so many roads, and it is a hazard, and we have had near accidents. I've seen women standing there with babies, near misses, wheelchairs. It is just an extreme problem in many areas of the city. This is nothing against the homeless, absolutely not. I'm a part of that committee. I support homeless services. But when you talk about the homeless, you talk about the mentally ill, often you have to help them and make them understand that this is not a good situation. This is something they should not be doing, that their lives are in danger. And I am fully supportive of this. I appreciate the fact that the warning system is there. And I don't know, can we insert that first there'll be a warning into the ordinance?
The question is, the request that was made by the Homeless Advocate, can we formalize the warning system into the ordinance so that it's absolutely clear and unquestioned?
Mayor, Councilmember Williams, yes, we can insert a warning system formally into the ordinance. However, be advised that it would make it more difficult to enforce because that now becomes an element that must be presented if there is an enforcement action.
Well, I still think it's worthy to put it in there. We're going to track this. If it is a repeat, it should already be on record if we're tracking it, so it shouldn't be difficulty. If we're tracking the first one and you're getting it so you can contact them for services, I don't think that ought to be a major click in the system. So I recommend that we add that first you get a warning, and that's tracked by PD so that second time, action is taken. And I will tell you, I'm the one that put the, oh, pardon me.
I was going to say, the motion is then to support the recommendation of staff and the subcommittee with the addition of a formal warning process. Do we have a second on that motion?
Mayor, can I ask, just as a request here, there might be a more legally enforceable way of doing that by just putting in a period of time where it doesn't become enforceable with the penalty. So you can literally have our police out there for 20 days, 30 days, whatever it is, and then it takes effect that way. I think you might have a more legal cogent argument here.
I'm the one that put the emergency clause on it because
Yeah.
this has been going on for such a long time. And traffic is horrendous. Our streets are in poor shape. And I just think it has become more hazardous for not only the vehicles, but the people on those medians. And by putting the emergency clause on, it takes effect immediately. It doesn't have to wait a month or more for implementation. And I am concerned that by doing that, it will delay the process. And I've asked also that we go out and in some places post a little warning sign that this ordinance is going to take place.
So the motion is to staff recommendation and subcommittee recommendation with the addition of a formal warning process. Do we have a second on that motion? I will, then if no one else will, then
You didn't let me finish it
Oh, I
because I wanted to
apologize.
put the emergency clause on it.
Give it, say again?
I wanted the emergency clause included in the
Including the
motion.
emergency clause, yes, I'm sorry, I apologize. So including the emergency clause. So staff recommendation and subcommittee recommendation, I guess subcommittee added the emergency clause onto it. So that recommendation with a formal warning system. Do we have a second on that motion?
I have a question.
Please.
Question for the maker of the motion. Would the warning be, because the way this is written
is that it starts with just a sanction of $250. So the first is not a criminal action, is that correct, Mr. City Attorney?
Mayor, Council Member Gates, yes, that is correct. It is just a civil sanction. It is not a misdemeanor. It's not criminal.
And then the second one would be criminal. It'd be a sanction of it would be a class 1 misdemeanor. So my question for you is, would this be a third, so would you have the warning first, then you'd go to a civil, then the criminal? Or is
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
All right, so that is the motion.
Question,
Do we have just a second, I want to see if we have a second on the motion. Do we have a second on Councilwoman Williams' motion?
I will second.
We have a second. Councilman DeCiccio.
Yeah, and I think there might be another way, and I probably did not explain it correctly, of handling this, where basically you enact it today, but you don't incur any of these penalties for a period of time for 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, other than installing this. When you install this warning, how do you know that you gave that person a warning today and you didn't give it to them 2 weeks ago, or you did? If you just put in a period of time in here where you enact this today, then the enforcement mechanism comes into play 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, whatever that is. You give the public a period of time to get used to this penalty, or to get used to this new law.
All right.
That's kind of, and I hope I explained that correctly, Thelda.
Well, I guess my response to that is the warning basically does that, and word spreads very quickly. And I think that once they have a warning, there's no penalty attached. They should know that they can't do that.
It's your call.
All right, so that's the motion. We have a second. Comments on Councilwoman Williams' motion? Other additional comments? Councilman, anybody else?
I do. Oh.
Mayor, I was just
Please,
thinking
Councilman
that
Noakowski.
we went through the same process with the parking meters.
Right.
That we had, what was it, about 30 days, was it? That we gave out warnings. And it was a transition period. I think that's what Councilmember DeCiccio was talking about, is if there's an easier way to track it where we can have the first 30 days. Because the way I'm hearing it, starting today until you get stopped for the first time, that can be in 3-4 years from now. We're going to continue giving out warnings, right?
Our warnings would be documented on what we call the field interrogation card. So any subsequent contact, any officer could make a query and find that field interrogation card, which would indicate the location, the date, the time, and the officer that issued the warning, reference this ordinance.
Okay, Weissner?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I have a question for the folks who drafted this. You did it without the warning, correct?
That's correct.
So I assume that's what you'd prefer.
I guess I never had thought about the warning actually in the ordinance. We had discussed putting the warning into, after the recommendation from the Homeless Advisory Committee, to put that into our own departmental policy, which would govern the action of our officers. That a warning was required prior to taking any type of enforcement action.
So are you okay with the warning, or, I mean, do you have an opinion? Does this water it down? We want it to be effective. I saw a near accident last week, people stepping off the median into the traffic to collect. I mean, it's not a safe situation. In my district, it's not even just by the freeways, it's on major surface streets where people weren't as used to this kind of activity, and it's prevalent on all sides of the intersection plus the medians. It just seems like every corner is covered just in the last, I would say, year and a half, and it's definitely an issue. So I guess I want some assurances that you think what's being suggested here in terms of a change would work.
Mayor, Vice Mayor Waring, we did discuss within the subcommittee the idea that there needs to be an educational process by engaging the public. So the warning does not water down ultimately what we're trying to achieve. We do need to make people aware that it is now a different day, so to speak.
Councilman Gates?
Thank you, Mayor. Question for the city attorney. So, you know, an officer goes early in the morning to Peoria and I-17 and gives someone a warning at 8 a.m. They come back, the same person's there at 5 p.m. Is that the second one? Is that $250? Does it have to be a different day? What, I feel like we need to give some guidance to the officers on this.
Mayor, Councilmember Gates, yes, the way that most criminal offenses will work is that you are generally giving a notice in this case, so a warning, and then you can be cited. So if you turn around, just for example, if you're speeding and you're given a warning, and then 2 hours later you're speeding again, you may be cited. So there is a possibility as this progresses, as we progress, as the enforcement action progresses in this ordinance, there is that possibility. So yes.
Other questions? Councilwoman?
I was wondering if Brad would mind coming back down and just maybe giving your reaction to this, and also if you could speak to, I had thought in reading this policy that its impact would be often to move people out of the medium and on to the sidewalk, where I think it would be a little bit safer. So if you could speak to those two, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, first, as though, you know, this is not, I mean, we kind of throw some words like criminalization out. That's a continuum. You have a really progressive community that's all about, you know, providing services to homeless. You have a community that potentially criminalizes it. If anything, this is an inch over, and it's very small. It's relatively benign. The problem with as Councilman Waring and Councilman Nowakowski alluded to, of having a time period initial start of that, is that you're only educating the people who are out there in the next 30 to 60 days. Homelessness is not static. It's something that changes on a daily basis and continuously. And so somebody that's newly homeless a year from now is not going to get that public education benefit. Potentially, the way the language is written, regardless of internal policy about that, an officer would have the discretion to immediately cite, which is also giving a cost burden to our city, because we're going to move that through a homeless court system and remove the fine, and except hopefully they don't now have a misdemeanor or something else preventing access to affordable housing. So we want to ensure that there's an education process, and then if somebody has continuously violated, well, then, you know, they've done that, and they're going to suffer the consequences, but they've been given the formal warning. I think we can ensure that there's not a disparate impact on the homeless by doing so.
All right, excellent.
So as amended, it sounds like.
As amended, I would be very satisfied. I think Councilwoman Williams' suggestion to add that is very much appreciated, and I think would satisfy our community and still allow the public safety concerns to be addressed.
Thank you.
I don't mean to put words in Brad's mouth, but I think the point he's making earlier is, in the life of a homeless person, a civil penalty becomes a criminal penalty over time, because if they can't pay the initial penalty, they go back to court, that penalty increases, they can't pay that, and a judge does have discretion, it often happens, to turn a civil penalty into a criminal penalty. And so the concept of a monetary fine in the life of a homeless person is a mountain that just can't be overcome. It doesn't mean we shouldn't do it, but we ought to give adequate warning under those circumstances. I think that's the point that they made, and the point that the Councilwoman is making with her small change to today's motion. Other comments or questions by members of this council? Councilman Ciccio, please.
Well, I like this proposal. Like Councilman Waring, who's just talking about, this is something that's hitting home all across the city. Whether it's for the Super Bowl or not, I don't think that's as relevant as the fact that it's dealing with safety. I mean, if you think about it, you wouldn't want an individual on the highway. There's a reason for that. You've got cars going at least 55 miles an hour. And you wouldn't want an individual right next to your median either, being able to solicit funds. Most of the individuals we're talking about are people that are out there soliciting funds or in the median, whether they're selling newspapers, roses, or whatever they're doing, but they should not be in the median. I'm going to tell you from my end, I'm very happy about this. I'm very proud of the fact that you've put so much work into this for the staff and the members of the council and people in that committee that put this together. This is something that the public has been asking for a very long time. It's time for us to pass this. I'm glad we're doing this on an emergency clause. It was literally a safety-related issue. You don't want people driving for whether they're impaired or they're bothered. There could be a variety of reasons. Individuals in the median, we've all seen this. They are literally right on the edge where your rearview mirror could run into them and hit them. So this allows us to do an enforcement action no different than any other enforcement action that we have here at the City of Phoenix. thank you for bringing it forward, and I'm excited to get this thing through, and I know the public's going to be incredibly happy about it.
Vice Mayor.
Well, just to Councilman DeCicio's point, given what I've just personally observed, I'm shocked there hasn't been a tragedy already. I mean, it's just surprising to me, given the close calls that I've seen and so forth. My question for the officer is, how quickly would the warning be turned around? I mean, how quickly would it be in the system?
Mayor, Vice Mayor Waring, it would be immediate. Once the officer transmitted
So you
it
just
into the
type it
system, it would be typed in directly by the officer on his mobile computer in his vehicle.
I guess for my part, it sounds like that idea isn't going to carry the day. I guess I feel more comfortable with maybe a 30 or 60-day warning period, and then we go right to the penalties, because I do think this is serious. I understand Mayor Stanton's point. I do think word would spread, which I think would take care of the PR aspects of this, of letting people know. But I do think something needs to be done, so like I say, I'm willing to support this today, but I disagree with the change. I think what was previously suggested would have been better.
Councilman Gates.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm proud of this city. I'm proud of the fact that we have a big heart when it comes to homelessness. I'm proud of the mayor and the rest of this council for eradicating homelessness among veterans. And I think what's been done here today is consistent with that approach. This issue of median safety, I've heard more about this issue than probably any other issue since I've been on the council. It's a real concern in my area, from the area over by I-17 all the way to Shea and Tatum and 7th Street and Thunderbird in between. People are concerned that people are going to get hurt. So I'm happy that we're moving quickly. I'm happy that we have the emergency clause, but I think some great issues have been raised by the homeless community and those advocates of the homeless community. So I thank Councilwoman Williams for making this change. I think it's going to be the right way to approach this. And I want to be very clear, this is not about the Super Bowl. And frankly, I'm offended by that suggestion. This is actually from the people. These are the people, a lot of the people that I'm hearing this about, these are the people who patrol their own streets, who are concerned about the safety of their communities, who work with our police officers. They're the ones asking for it. I don't know about anyone else, but I haven't gotten a call from the NFL. This is about the community standing up because they're concerned about safety in our community. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, the council members on the phone, did anybody wish to provide a statement on or question on this item?
No, Mayor.
Okay, we're going to vote. Roll call.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Nowakowski.
Yes.
Pastor. Valenzuela.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Mayor Stanton.
Yes, the item passes unanimously. Next item, Vice Mayor. Which one? Which one? Okay, so we have a request by Councilman Nowakowski to reconsider item number 28, an item that we previously voted on. Yeah, please, yeah, just go ahead and make the
Motion to reconsider, request to reconsider item 23 from the November 5th formal meeting.
28, I think you mean?
Well, it's 28 now. It was 23 then.
Oh, I apologize, okay.
That's all right.
So it's item 28, and it's
I'll
request,
second that,
oh,
Mayor.
I apologize, request to reconsider item 23.
Yes,
Okay.
it's today's item 28.
So we motion,
but
we
it
have a
was-
second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Reconsideration passed unanimously. Councilman Nowakowski.
No, I think I have to move.
Oh, I'm sorry, now we're on 20, okay, I apologize. So 28 was the reconsideration, 29 was,
Move approval
Re-
item 29,
I don't know if,
which is the reconsideration of.
I think, Councilman Nowakowski, did you want to provide comments first on item 29? Or did you ever,
A motion? Do you mind if I go first, Mayor?
I don't mind at all, either
Oh,
one,
it-
doesn't matter. So the item's been reconsidered, there's no motion on the table regarding 29. Councilman Nowakowski had asked for a reconsideration, and that's why I went to him first, but Councilman DeCiccio, you want to go? Go.
Only because this is something that we had talked about, and I think that there's a really good potential here. For those of you that are wondering what item 29 is, it's about spending 1.1 to 1.2 million dollars on a polling company over 5 years. It just doesn't seem like that's, I'm not a big fan of using monies for something like this at all. I think people know that. I think that the price tag is expensive, especially when you're talking about a city potentially going into a budget. I know that there's always this argument of what pot it comes from. At the end of the day, the public believes that this is their money, this is their taxpayer money, and it is. I'm very thankful to Councilman Nowakowski for, taking the lead on this and asking for it to be reconsidered, because I think that there's other potentials that are out there. I don't know, is the lady from Grand Canyon College here? She was going to try and make it. We received a letter from one of the professors, one of the doctoral student, one of the adjunct faculty members, who said that they would be happy to look at this. They're already providing services to the Army. They're providing services for free to the town of Queen Creek, to other places, and this is what they do. I would like to give us enough time, make a motion on the table, with a 30-day continuance to at least look and explore other options that are out there related to Grand Canyon University and other either educational facilities or other groups out there that'd be willing to do it for free. Grand Canyon University does this for free for other organizations, large organizations. At the very least, I'd like us to take a look at that before this comes forward, to make sure that we explore all options.
Mayor?
Okay, please, I know your comments, and I guess, maybe, well, staff is here, professional staff that made the recommendation on the original item is here if we have questions. Councilman Williams.
As you know, I have also not supported this, and I have been talking with staff on the public works portion. It is part of the contract. We've imposed it on ourselves, and as we're going to have a delay, I would like to look and have staff review to see if the frequency is still needed 4 times a year. Is it still needed, period? And not only just public works, but as you do a review, see if that number per year is still necessary.
As you know, as part of our competitive contracting policy from years ago, when we competitively bid public work services, we require that there be 4 times a year a survey to make sure the citizens were happy with the services that they're providing. It was a way to ensure that if we outsourced those services, they were getting the quality services that we were demanding. So the 4 times a year requirement on survey was a requirement that we had placed on ourselves. It was part of the provision which the city of Phoenix won that contract over outside services. If we're going to change that policy, we would have to take a vote and change the contract, or the RFP, I guess, that placed upon it. It's a little bit changing the rules in the middle of the game, but if we want to do it as a cost-saving measure, that's a formal action that this council-wise. Otherwise, we'd be in violation of the RFP that we put out relative to public works services. This is important policy. I don't think we can just unilaterally
No, I
ignore it.
don't
We'd have to
either.
take a formal action if we're going to change the policy.
I don't think that was the...
I don't, that isn't what I meant.
No, of course, I know.
I just wanted to research it, to look at it, see what our options are. If there's cost savings, if there's a way we can do something very similar or to do that, I think it's worth our while to talk about it, review it.
And I think
I agree with that we should look at whether or not, I just want to put us in legal jeopardy because some people bid on the contract pursuant to having the 4 times a year. So we're in a little bit of a gray area here if we were to go in a different direction. Go ahead, Councilman Gates.
I'm willing to second that. I don't think there's been a second, but I would add Grand Canyon, also ASU, whoever it is, if ASU wants to do it as well, I think it's a great idea and a great, another partnership opportunity with one of our universities.
Mayor.
Councilman Valenzuela, look, I get another question I'm going to ask is from Matt. This is a bid that there's been a response to a bid. Do we have to reject all bids and then go out and rebid in order to make this appropriate? If people don't want the current proposal, what is the appropriate course of action? And then I'll go to Councilman Valenzuela, please.
Mayor, yes, that's correct. This was subject to a procurement process. If it's the desire of council to continue this, then what we would need to do is cancel that solicitation process and then start a new one, depending upon how the council wishes to proceed.
Okay, that's so that will be it. We'll keep having discussion about the substantive policy, but in terms of a way to proceed, if we go in a different direction, we have to take note of that. Councilman, please.
Oh, thank you. And the reason I was looking for the continuance is I'm trying to I don't like the idea of doing these types of surveys. I think it's a waste of government money, and it's a waste of taxpayer monies. Just trying to find an easy way, if there's another alternative out there for people that do like these things, if there's a less expensive way to do that. That's all I'm trying to get accomplished here, giving everyone a little bit of opportunity to get what they want out of it. That's all this was about. Otherwise, I'd just vote to say no if that's what you want to do. But I think this is a more reasonable approach. See if there's other ways to do it, approach other organizations, and see if there's a potential of saving some taxpayer
That's
money for those that want to get
perfectly
it.
fine. If we want to stop the longitudinal community survey that we do, the citizen survey about the satisfaction of services, that would be a policy we can make. On the issue of the public works, we'd have probably have to go in e-session, because I know there's going to be a legal issue about whether we put that in the RFP. We bid on that contract pursuant to a requirement of 4 times a year doing this. I just don't want to change the contract in the middle of it. Councilman Noakowski.
Mayor, going back.
Mayor, I'm still waiting as well.
I apologize. Councilman Valenzuela, you were next. I apologize.
Okay, thanks. First I appreciate the efforts of my colleagues to be creative in finding ways for the city to save money. That is our fiduciary responsibility, and again, I commend my colleagues for doing that. I think some valid points are being made. I think we have to remember that more than 40 companies were informed of this RFP opportunity. A diverse panel of internal and external representatives reviewed proposals from 4 companies that responded. The panel recommended awarding contracts to the 2 highest scoring firms. There's a lot of work that was done here. There was an RFP process that Grand Canyon University did not respond to. And no, it wouldn't surprise me one bit that the students of GCU would step up to help to help create yet another way for GCU to be supportive of the city. GCU, as I think most people know by now, because I'm very proud of this, GCU is actually located in District 5, and we've had several public-private partnerships that we've been able to work out with GCU. My office and I are in almost daily communication with the leadership team, and today we talked with their general counsel, and neither he nor the rest of the leadership team are aware of any offer from GCU to the city to perform this work for free. But again, that it is a large university. There are several people, several students, so I don't know who spoke up. I do agree that if this was to be, if we were going to wipe away all that's already done and move forward, GCU as well as everyone else should be invited to the table. All of our higher education institutions should be, all of our entrepreneurs should be, all of small business owners, and I guess the point I'm making is I'm all about public input. I believe the city should be all about public input. I've said this a million times. Public input is not a box that simply gets checked. We should be governing based on public input, and this is not just a survey. We have more than a $3 billion budget to run the 6th or 5th largest city in the nation, more than 1.6 million constituents, for a city of more than 500 square miles. And this is a form of public input. And it comes at a high price tag, but again, if this is going to help us spend $3.2 billion in the most efficient, most responsible way, I think you have to, if you look at that percentage, it's less than it's far less than 1%. It's a fraction. And I'm not saying that it's not a lot of money, because it's a lot of money. I understand that. But let's not forget what the objective is here. This is a process that it's not new. It's something that the city of Phoenix has been doing. Consistency is incredibly important. If we want to really figure out if we're providing a strong service, the best possible service to the people of Phoenix, it's important to know, what we've been doing for the past several years, what direction we're moving in. Consistency is important, I guess is my point. And this isn't a new process. And This is the same type of process that goes into why the city of Phoenix has been named in the past best run city, and it's been an award-winning city. It's because of this type of these types of process, and so we have to continue to. I feel we have to continue to move in that direction. So it's not just a survey. It's inviting public input. It's trying to figure out if we're on the right track, and that comes at a price tag. And so again, that being said, I do commend my colleagues for trying to figure out if we can save a few dollars. But and I've said this also. There's a difference between a cost and an investment, and this is one of those things that I think is an investment. We have to be aware of the legal issues as well. We're writing them, this is part of an RFP process, and I just want to be sure that we're doing the right thing legally as well.
Mayor?
All right, thank you very much. And real quick, so the motion on the table right now is what, to continue? To continue for 30 days. But would it be appropriate to be soliciting other applications during the pendency of a 30-day continuance when there's a pending so we can't do that. So if we want to solicit other bids, if you will, we'd have to reject all bids for this purpose, reopen the solicitation, do another RFP, I guess. I gotta make sure we do this appropriately moving forward, assuming that the desire of this council is not to move forward with this item today. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mayor, yes, if it's the desire of this council not to move forward, the proper process to follow would be to cancel the existing procurement and then reopen it, another one at a later date.
Okay, and this may be a subject matter for an executive session. If we reject all bids and RFP and solicit Grand Canyon University to provide services below market, we have a pending zoning case by Grand Canyon University that is going through the city council right now. I, as mayor, am not comfortable soliciting below market services from Grand Canyon University during the pendency of a zoning case. If we're gonna do that, let's get through the zoning case and do it at some later time. I just think the timing would be it would not be appropriate, in my opinion. We may have to put that on an e-session and get an e-session so we can get legal advice from our council on the issue of soliciting a separate bid from Grand Canyon for free to do the services that we'd otherwise be charging money for.
Question.
Dan, go ahead.
So a question.
But did you have a response? I don't want to put you on. If we have to go in e-session, we should do it later time.
Yes, we could certainly go into e-session and discuss the legal issues, but that's the very reason why you would want to have an open procurement solicitation, is to address at least the appearance that somehow we are getting something, there's a kind of a quid pro quo. So my advice is that we essentially start a new procurement process after the fact that will allow Grand Canyon, ASU, or any other proposer to submit a proposal.
Vice Mayor.
So what we voted on 2 weeks ago, if it had failed 5-4 instead of passing 5-4, wouldn't we be back to square one and starting over? So shouldn't we just vote it down today? Just
I was
vote
just trying
no,
to be
which I am
nice.
certainly prepared to do, and that will start things all over, and we can discuss new options.
Well, we could, a couple things.
Yeah, substitute motion. I'd like to make a substitute motion to reject this RFP.
The question
I'll
really
second
is
that.
do we want these services? Do we want to do a survey on customer satisfaction with Public Works? Do we want to do a citizen survey, if not by the successful or the at least recommended bidder here, potentially by somebody else? Then we would reject all bids with the direction to staff to go reopen the process and bring in new bidders. Or we could just say we don't want the services. So those are two very different directions.
I think the elections serve as a survey, but, rather than spending $1 million on this, we can spend $1 million
We have a
on that.
second, Mayor.
But we did have a
on that.
second, so.
Yep. Go ahead, Councilman.
Again, I'm just trying to be nice on this thing. Hey, if you want to reject, I'm good with that. Believe me, I didn't want to do this in the first place. I think it's a waste of money. The idea and the insinuation that because we can get somebody to do it for free as a, as an adjunct professor. I've got the report letter here. It came in yesterday. I apologize to Councilman Nowakowski. We didn't get back with you yet, or we didn't contact you yesterday. We got back in. It was from, just to give people an understanding what happened. I sent out an email blast. One of 117,000 people got it. One person called me back and said, hey, we do this. We do this for free in other places. This city of Phoenix hasn't even passed an ethics policy banning gifts. So council members can get free lunches and things like that, but we can't accept a free survey from a university. I think that sounds kind of odd on its own. The fact of the matter is this entity does this. This is what they do. They use other professors. They're all working, people in the working community. They're a student consulting team with individuals looking toward advanced degrees, and they have real world work experience. It was worth an effort, but I would love to turn this down. I'm good with it. I'm happy about it. I'm going to be voting yes, Mayor.
Okay, so the motion on the table is for a continuance. Do we have a second?
That's my substitute, Nowakowski second.
Substitute was to just reject all bids. That's correct. Second was from Councilman Nowakowski. Any other comments by members of this council?
Mayor,
Councilman, please.
again, I apologize for not being able to be there in person. As I understand it, I don't think anyone is rejecting students or a higher education institution doing this type of work or other work for free, because, again, I, for one, I can tell you of several public-private partnerships that I've been honored to help work on behalf of the city with GCU to help the city. For me, this is an issue of, the consistency of the matter of having these types of services, of inviting public input. I don't think anyone on this council should, I don't think anyone is claiming to know it all, but I certainly am not. I'm certainly not making that claim either. This is important. These are important questions that we should be asking to make sure that we're on the right track. It's about public input for me. It's about a legal issue for me. We've gone through an RFP process, and so because I want to understand what motion is on the table, this is a substitute motion to reject this entire RFP process and the work that has been put into it, and potentially start over. Am I correct?
I didn't hear the word start over. It's just a kill this deal.
Okay. So it sounds like a yes vote, a majority yes vote here would kill this process, and we would be at nothing. Is that correct?
Staff, there was a question from Councilman Valenzuela.
What would a yes majority? What would a majority yes vote? What does that give us at this time? And if it means
A yes on the motion?
yes,
Well, I think the Vice Mayor is going to maybe clarify his intent with his motion right now. Vice Mayor.
So I'm against spending this money, so I'm saying we should reject what we should have rejected 2 weeks ago, but it passed by a 5-4 vote, so this would be reversing that. And then I am willing to entertain the offers to go out again to the public and see if people will be willing to do it for free.
Okay, so the Vice Mayor's clarification of intent was to reject all bids, but then go out with a new RFP, including asking all of our university partners in a clean process. I didn't mean to suggest that if Grand Canyon does this for services free as a matter of course, it'd be inappropriate. Just the question is whether we're soliciting those free services, whether they just respond to an RFP. My opinion is, with a pending rezoning application, it'd be better to go through the formal RFP process. Okay, Councilman Valenzuela, do you have more?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So a majority yes vote, it kills this process. Another motion would have to be put on the table to start over. What does this do for the timeline? As I mentioned before, this isn't the first time that the city of Phoenix has had this type of a service to reach out to the people of Phoenix to make sure that we're on the right track, that we are providing the best possible service, that we're So what does that do for that timeline? And I guess this would be the first time in a long time that we are not actually reaching out to ask those types of questions. And does anyone know how long we have been doing this?
Okay, well,
I think the report said that they've been doing it since 1983, at least some of them.
Right.
Councilman Williams,
and I understand that, Councilwoman. I wanted to just clarify that for the record. So
Okay.
since 1983, okay.
So our citizen satisfaction survey, for how long have we been doing this longitudinal survey?
Mayor, the citizen satisfaction survey has been conducted since 1985, every other year.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so every 2 years, the city of Phoenix has conducted a citizen satisfaction survey in a longitudinal way. As a result, we're able to get kind of apples to apples comparison about various services based upon the citizen response to each of those surveys, where we're going up, where we're going down, where we need to improve upon, et cetera. That's been the policy of the city to do this citizen satisfaction survey, so that we can improve services or know where we're doing well. Any other, Councilman Valenzuela, do you have additional comments?
No, thank you. So 1985, and I think you clarified it, Mayor, and that's what I meant by the consistency of just being able to make improvements based on all of this information that has been collected over decades. And the other question I had was clarified also. This vote would be to cancel out this entire process.
Just to give a little bit of context, Councilwoman Gallego was in preschool at the time. Councilman DeCiccio, Councilman Nowakowski.
Mayor, I have a question for staff. The citizen survey, how many people are actually surveyed?
There are 700 residents surveyed in the community survey. They're by phone, and it's a random survey.
Okay, so we're talking about 700 individuals that are surveyed. We also have a survey of our employees, right?
Yes.
And how many of those employees are surveyed?
All of our employees are surveyed every other year, and that's about 14,000 employees. They can do it electronically for those employees who don't have computer access. It also is in a hard copy paper form. And then the survey company, the professional survey company, tallies the results and formulates the research and the answers for us.
And the citizen survey costs the city how much?
The citizen survey is $12,500 from the general fund.
And the employee survey?
Employee survey is 15,750.
So what we're talking about here really is how we're saving $1.2 million by looking at somebody who can actually present this for free. Was Grand Canyon actually a part of the RFP process? Or did they?
We reached out to 40 different companies during the RFP process. Grand Canyon did not respond.
And did we ask for any in-kind services at that time during the RFP process, or was it a cost per service?
We did not. Yeah, it was cost per service.
And with this, okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, any additional comments? Councilman DeCiccio, please.
Yeah, and just to clear it up, if I could make her the motion, the idea maybe just kill the thing off right now and then have staff come back with some other ideas, let them look into it a little further and see if there's any other alternatives that are out there. Let them do it that way. Then they can present it if people up here really want to have it that badly. I don't see it, but just as a thought.
Okay, so we'll just make the motion simple since it seems to have caused some complication.
And let them come back.
We're just reversing what we did 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so the maker of the motion, if I'm not sure I clarify, is to reject these bids, but not with the intent to rebid to see if these universities are interested. So,
Yes, that's correct. That's accurate. This is just reversing what we did 2 weeks ago, just voting no.
okay, so it's just reject all bids and not to direct staff to go out for additional, okay. Ms. Rogers, you have testimony on this.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Before I comment on the subject at hand, I would like to ask each one of you to speak into your mics. The acoustics in this room are very poor. And several of you, and you know who you are, have very soft voices, and you do not project. This is a public meeting. You should be able to be heard. Thank you. What did you do with 28? I didn't understand what you said, Mayor.
I apologize. 28 was just the motion to reconsider the item so that we could then consider the substantive item. Because we voted on it 2 weeks ago, we had to formally reconsider it in order to have the discussion that we just had. So it was a formality.
So is this related to 29?
Yes, in order to vote on 29.
When
we had
you
to
put in this book, S blah, 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 in the narrative, and I've said this many times before over the years, be specific so we know what S blah, blah, blah is about. That's not asking too much. Now on 29, I'm glad Vice Mayor Waring made a substitute motion to reject. It's appropriate, and I agree with it. This has been going on, expenditure on this kind of survey, for 36 years. Divided by 2 is 18. I have never, ever seen in my mailbox nor in my paper anything about these surveys. There's no public notice about them. This is wasting money to make you guys, or whoever the guys were up here preceding you, feel good and warm and fuzzy all over. We can't afford it. It isn't good governing. Bag it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Rogers. Councilman Gallego.
In my work outside of the city council, the company I work for has done an employee satisfaction survey and made a lot of major changes as a result of that I think were very motivational to me and useful. And several members of this body have said that we need to make changes based on morale, very serious changes. Having data is incredibly valuable in a broad sample. We certainly get a lot of emails, but it is a small percentage, and scientific data would help us. It's been helpful for me to have the results of these studies in budget documents and others, because there are some areas of the city where we want metrics, but employee or citizen reaction are among the best tools we have. So I think it's valuable, and it's something that is also very common in the business community, and many of us look to the business community for good tools. Longitudinal data really helps us notice problems, and talking with our citizens in a scientific way helps us reach a broad cross-section. Many people contact us by phone or email, but that's not always an option for everyone, particularly on the email, so this really is a way to get out there and talk to people and get that. We've gotten a lot of great ideas from citizens. I recently wrote a letter to the city manager in support of OneID, which was absolutely an idea that came from citizens, and I think we need to continue to be proactive and reach out to people who don't always reach and speak to us, because we want to represent the whole population, not just the people who are able to come and join us at these meetings. So I will be voting against the motion.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments by members of this council? Okay, so the motion is to reject all bids. Besides, Councilwoman Pastor, are you on the phone? All right, we lost her. Okay, roll call.
DeCiccio. Gallego.
No.
Yates.
Yes.
Nowakowski.
Yes.
Valenzuela.
No.
Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Mayor Stanton.
No, and doing the math, I think it passed 5-3, the motion to reject all bids. All right, next item, Vice Mayor.
All right. I move that items 30 through 64, being ordinances numbered S-41-242, S-41-247, S-41-271 through S-41-32, and Resolution 21-20 26-6 be adopted, except items 30, 32 in its entirety. We're also pulling out 32A out of that. 34, 36, 37, 40, 50, 55, 58 as corrected, 61 and 63.
Do we have a second?
I guess note that 58 is correct. We're not pulling it out. And then 61 and 63 are being pulled out.
All right, we have the omnibus motion. We have a second. Roll call.
DeCiccio. Gallego.
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Noakowski.
Yes.
Valenzuela. Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Mayor Stanton.
Yes. Item number 30 is next.
Approve item 30.
Second.
A motion on 30 and a second. Councilman Gates, did you have comments regarding library cards?
Yes, this item came before the council earlier this year, and it relates to spending money on plastic to get plastic to make more library cards. We're very fortunate to have a group of individuals in the community who have been participating with our ad hoc technology task force and actually participated in a technology summit last week. A lot of great ideas. And one of those ideas that we need to move forward with quickly is how can we use these smartphones more as a city? Folks are used to, now a lot of people are taking their cards, maybe they have these rewards cards from grocery stores or wherever the case may be. They're putting them on their smartphones via Passbook or Keyring, things like that. And I've had the opportunity to meet with our city librarian, and she's committed that she's going to look at these technologies and work with our chief information officer and look at how we can utilize these technologies better moving forward. Right now, we literally do not have the technology in the library to put your library card on a phone, on a smartphone, and scan it. So because it's not possible at this time, I will be voting in favor of this item, but I look forward to working with all of our city staff and with my colleagues to utilize more technology to do a better job of providing services to our residents, saving money, and also utilizing less resources, which is a more sustainable approach as well. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Is our city librarian here? Just want to provide why you're requesting this item in light of the comments made by Councilman Gates? Good to see you.
Mayor, members of City Council, good afternoon. I appreciate your attention to this item. We issue about 86,000 library cards a year. As Councilman Gates has mentioned, we do not have the technology to go digital, but we are very interested in pursuing that angle. We try to be a very up-to-date library system, but currently we are still in the process of issuing physical library cards and would really appreciate your support to purchase those so that we can continue that current process.
All right, thank you very much. Can you talk about some of the programs and probably getting library cards into the hands of young students, particularly kindergarten and first graders?
We have a number of programs, Mayor, Council, that reach out to classrooms to get library cards into the hands of first graders. We have a number of programs in the community, our kindergarten boot camp and early literacy nights, family nights, where we tell families about all the services that libraries have and provide library cards to people, whole families at these events. We do a lot of outreach at community fairs, community centers, so every chance we get, we try to get library cards into the hands of residents.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for our city librarian? All right, we have cards from the community which testify on this item. Vidi Hernandez, followed by Ms. Juarez, followed by Leonard Clark.
Good afternoon. A little short, all right. My name is Viridiana Hernandez, and I am here to talk on behalf of the One Phoenix ID, which is a concept that has gone on October 20th, went to the Human Relations Commission. and the concept of a multifunctional identification card, that a multi-purpose, which includes the library card. So streamlining services into one card, such as the library, and using different technology to do that in efforts to save money by creating this one card. And after that meeting and the Human Relations Commission, we've reached out to a lot of our council offices, met with many of you, and have a lot of pending meetings. And what the biggest thing about this One Phoenix idea and the One Phoenix Coalition is that this library card, it's this multi-purpose card, including the library, including bus services, has the possibility of being much more than that. So for myself, I've seen the city for the last 2 years be a champion against domestic violence, and I want to thank Councilwoman Williams, Councilman Nowakowski, and Councilman DeCiccio for being at the forefront of that fight. Me, myself, would not be here if the reason I am here today is because this issue that is something that has affected me personally. I, as many untold stories, I'm also a victim of domestic violence. 8 years ago, as a teenager, was an experience where I found myself in the situation that soon after being with this individual, I found myself being afraid of saying the wrong thing, of being afraid to look in the wrong way, of being afraid of saying something that might upset him. It is something that he used against me, right? A lot of us that know about domestic violence and you guys that have been championing it. One of the things that in this experience was that why I didn't call and report crime as well was that I was afraid of what this lack of ID would do. My partner used to threaten me with saying things such as, you know you can't call the police. You know that your family is in jeopardy. You know that you can't do that, so you can't leave. And this is a type of experience that many people face. The lack of ID to report for myself and the lack of ID for my family is something that kept me from calling, and I never did call. I was able to get out of that situation, but that fear is something that was reinforced recently in the case of Ruby, which is a woman who called to report a domestic violence issue. And after that report, which was in January 27th, she was arrested and taken into a station where she believed she was going to receive the services that she needed and the resources, and instead has been detained in Eloy Detention Center for the last 10 months. And I want to thank Councilwoman Pastor, who's been very active in helping with this case, as well as Councilwoman Gallego and Councilman Valenzuela, who've been really active with the community policing program. These are the very personal experiences that contribute to the need of an identification in our city. And what better way to have an identification that brings all of these services together? And continue to be a city that protects women, men, and children in this environment. One Phoenix ID is a necessity for many of our communities in Phoenix. This is an urgent measure that we can take at no cost to the city. The city of Phoenix has the opportunity to reduce one more fear, which is the fear of reporting, for abused women, men, and children who live in fear in their homes every day. We look forward to continue to work with everyone. Today we wear purple and we stand in solidarity with all the work that the city of Phoenix and all of you have done in this respect. The One Phoenix Coalition, which is here, if people would stand, the people wearing purple. And so we want to thank you. We want to look forward to this partnership, look forward to joining forces, continue this identification that will further unite the city, further create an inclusive city, save money to our city, streamline services, and all of that. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vidi. Dolce Juarez, she ate into a little of your time. Did you want to specify it, or did she get all the points you wanted? She got all the points, all right. Thank you for supporting it. Leonard Clark, did you provide testimony on this?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. First of all, I just want to thank the young people and all of the people who have the courage to come in here. I don't know what it's like to walk in their shoes, to always be worried about somebody blackmailing me, telling me if I call our law enforcement that I'd be physically abused or my family be held prisoner. So I salute One Phoenix. I salute their courage. And next time you guys come down, I hope I know so I can run my mouth a little bit and back you up. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much. Someone get Leonard a purple shirt. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Roll call.
DeCiccio. Gallego.
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Noakowski.
I want to explain my comment.
Please.
I believe that we need to start looking at creating a one ID for the city of Phoenix. We have a library ID card, we have a Parks and Rec ID card, we have an ID card for our bus system. We need to start thinking wisely. I agree with the chairman of our innovation subcommittee that we need to use technology and we need to use all means to save revenues for the city of Phoenix. And I believe a one ID would work for the city of Phoenix, and I'm going to be voting yes on the library card, but we need to look in the future of creating a one ID.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Keep roll call, please. Roll call.
Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Mayor Stanton.
Yes. So the item passes unanimously. All right, next item, Vice Mayor.
Mayor, I'd like to move approval of 32A,
Library card.
36, and 63.
Mr. City Clerk, did you get that?
32A, 36, and 63.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Councilwoman, could we take 36 separately?
Which one?
36.
36. Okay, we'll pull out 36 on that.
Okay, so it's 32A and 63.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any cards? Comments by council? Roll call.
DeCiccio. Gallego.
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Noakowski.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Waring. Mayor Stanton.
Yes, item pass. 6 to 1? I think it was 6 to 1. Okay. Next item is 36.
What about the rest of 32?
Oh, the rest of, I'm sorry, the rest of 32. Let's do that.
That's what you have.
Did we have a motion already?
Not yet.
We get a motion on 30, the rest of 32, not 32A.
Item 32.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Pat Vint, floor is yours. Up to 2 minutes.
Yes, I am Pat Finn, and I'm guessing that all of you would hope that someday I'd say something nice about you. But this item 32, you've got the entire alphabet hidden here, that you're paying out over $1.5 million. And item just A, you pay $20,000 a year just to belong to the American Water Works Association. We got a waterworks department of our own that I don't know what the hell they're doing, but I go to these meetings sometime and most of them have no idea why they're even there. But what's really sick is E. The Edmo Distributors Incorporated for purchase of 7 radios to be installed in new vehicles that are used on the airfield to allow communication with the airport control tower for aviation department. Now, Bill Gates brought up that wonderful thing. We all have these smartphones. I go back in time in 1930, I was born, but probably I remember 35, where the telephones were tied to a wire somewhere. I've got portable radios. I got a portable phone in my pocket. I got phones at home that's wired down. But for anybody to come up with this stupid idea, they're going to buy radios for over $1,000 a piece, install them in a piece of equipment, an automobile that works at the airport, so they can communicate with the tower. What's wrong with these smartphones, you know? What's wrong with a portable radio that you can buy for a hell of a lot less than $1,000 each and not install them in a vehicle that when the vehicle's broke down, that radio is out of service? But this goes through the entire alphabet. And now you're going to tell me I have no right to speak. I ought to have 2 minutes on each of these on the alphabet. So if you approve this,
Pat, keep
you
going. I'll
better
let you finish
have
your
your
sentence. Go
head
ahead.
examined. What?
Go ahead. I'll let you finish your thought on this one, but then the 2 minutes is up. Go ahead. Finish up.
Just think, you know, you can't take this many items, put them in one item, the total alphabet, when you spend hours talking about some other stupid thing that you rejected, you approved, you ejected, you rejected, you approved it again. And you think that all of these items, that you know what you're doing? You have no idea.
Thank you very much, Pat. I appreciate the point. My impression is that the intention of the radios that'll communicate with the tower at Sky Harbor for the vehicles that are on the airfield is that they should be more reliable than T-Mobile for safety reasons. All right. All right, we have a motion. We have a second. Good point.
Prove us something stupid.
All right, fair enough, Pat. Go ahead. The point was well made that sometimes the cell phone service isn't as reliable, and when it comes to safety on the airfield, we need higher reliability than that. We have a motion. We have a second. Roll call. Councilman Gates, I apologize.
Sorry, I have a
apologize.
substitute motion.
Substitute motion. Go ahead.
Yes. To approve item 32, holding out, the other ones that we held out and holding out 32E.
Okay, so now the request for a substitute motion was to hold out 32E, I think with the intention that we can separately vote on 32E. We have a second on that?
Second.
We have a second on that. Taking Pat's comments into consideration, which do apply to this item. Okay, all in favor of the, really? Okay. Okay, no problem. So, roll call on the substitute motion, please.
DeCiccio. Gallego.
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Noakowski. Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Mayor Stanton.
Yes, 32E. Can I get a motion on 32E?
Move approval.
We have a motion on 32E. Do we have a second? All right, I will second 32E. Do you have any comments on 32E? Councilman Gates.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I thought Pat made some good points, actually. So I'd like to, I'd like to take some time to sit with staff and learn a little bit more on this particular item.
Is the request to continue 32E? Good points, like you were surprised.
Credit where credit's due.
Or
All right,
maybe just,
32E,
could
are we asking for a
just
substitute
get
motion
a little
to continue?
information from staff about the cost of airport radios?
Okay, so is someone prepared to now talk about airport radios? I just want to make sure, but
Mayor, I was
first off,
just-
if Councilman Gates is asking for a continuance, I want to be respectful of that. Otherwise, is he willing to listen today and it's up to you. Okay, Tammy Fisher, our aviation director. Why do we need these radios?
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council, Councilman Gates. These radios are specifically for communications with the tower controllers for staff who operate vehicles on the airfield so that they can communicate with the tower on airfield movements while they're in their vehicles, maintenance vehicles, as well as operations staff vehicles. My understanding is these are competitively bid through our Facilities and Services Department.
Yeah, I'm looking at Councilman Gates to see if
I
he's that
think,
good.
I appreciate that. I mean, for me, I would make a, I guess, substitute or motion to continue on this item to December 3rd.
Okay, so we have a motion to continue to December 3rd, so Councilman Gates can get additional information before voting. Do we have a second on the motion to continue?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion continue passes unanimously. I lost my vice mayor, Councilman Williams. What's next?
I would move approval of item 34, but I believe there's a card.
Item 34, we have a second? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Diane Barker, up to 2 minutes.
And my name's Diane Barker, District 7. Item 34 has to do with, we're asking for a 6-month operation and management for our Sky train that's out at the Sky Harbor. I guess it's built now from Terminal 4 and to Terminal 3, and they're testing it now, and it'll probably be operational maybe before Christmas. This money, about $3 million a month, will take us apparently until June. Okay, so I'm supportive of that, but I'd like to add this, is the big picture. The big picture is we now have MAG, ADOT, and other entities talking about how we're going to get commerce into our biggest trading partner, Mexico. And one of the ideas is a high-speed train. It apparently is being thought about, and they're looking at having the end of it at 44th Street, but I submit, to you that we look also at the west end, and I think it probably is going to need to be privately financed. What I see would be a good passenger and freight entity. I could see the west part of Sky Harbor being an innovative, state-of-art freight area, which would be a drop-off point there and delivered maybe even some part of free trade zone, and the extension of this SkyTrain be something that would have an alternative, maybe Vancouver type, looking at where they have taken bodies of good-looking buses and made it rubber tired and elevated, and then send it into this area. Because it's apparently being designed, this expensive type of train, to go clear over to the rental car area. I think that the future need to look at sustainability, even if we will be able to support, and there will be business for all of those rental cars. So I'm in favor of this, but I want you to look at, as we move forward, we have to be totally fiscally prudent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barker. Roll call.
DeCiccio. Gallego.
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Noakowski. Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
Excuse me, I jumped on in the middle of that. What is this 34?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Mayor Stanton.
Yes. Next item, Councilman Williams.
I would move approval of item 36, but I believe Councilwoman Gallego wants to make a comment.
Just wanted to get a brief explanation of this one and how often we spend $50,000 a year on photography.
All right, so the question has to do with how often does this contract come up before the council for photographic services?
Thank you, Mayor. Acting Aviation Director Tammy Fisher is here and can, with PIO Julie Rodriguez, and can answer this. Item 36.
Yes, pardon me.
Please.
The question is, how often does this contract come up for renewal?
Could you explain the contract a little bit and why the service couldn't be provided in-house?
Yes, Mayor, members of the City Council, Councilwoman Gallego. This is a contract for professional photography services, and it is used to conduct professional photography of airport projects as well as other airport business activities for purposes of print materials as well as media coverage, such as the Phoenix SkyTrain, airport improvements, and industry trade publications, as well as other publications such as USA Today. We're currently working on an industry trade publication cover story, and when we provide professional photography of the airport, it's used for that type of marketing and media coverage of the airport.
Other questions?
And so that we don't have the expertise within, we couldn't hire someone to do this and within the airport, like a staffer? Because it looks like it's close to a full $50,000 a year. You could hire someone full-time and have them do other things for the airport?
Mayor Stanton,
Please.
Councilwoman Gallego, we have typically contracted a professional photographer, and we have not had a photographer on staff. I don't know that we would have enough photography to keep someone like that busy full-time, or whether a professional photographer would have other skills that could be used in the Public Relations Division to create a full-time position.
Do we regularly spend $50,000 a year on photography?
We do not. We typically spend less than $50,000. Mayor Stanton, Councilwoman Gallego, It really depends on the activity at the airport, the type of media inquiries that we're getting, the type of projects that are opening. For example, in a given year, with the opening of a major program like Terminal Food and Beverage, in the same year as the opening of Stage 1 of the SkyTrain, there may be more a need for professional photography services than a different year.
Don't want to
No, keep going. Keep going. No problem.
So, we pay per hour, or how does the contract work?
Yes, we pay hourly. Councilwoman Gallego, Mayor Stanton.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay, any other comments or questions by member of this council? Well, we need a second on the motion. The motion was in favor. Do we have a second? All right. I will second the motion. Roll call.
DeCiccio.
No.
Gallego.
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Nowakowski. Williams.
Mayor, I want to say
Please.
that the publications, advertising Sky Harbor, tie Ryan, tie immediately into not only economic development locally, but internationally. Those photographs are used in Mexico, they're used in Asia, they're used in Great Britain, as well as internally. We get a lot of bang for our buck on this, and so I think it's a very worthy project, and I would be voting yes.
Waring.
No.
Stanton.
Yes. Is there others on the phone? Did we get everybody?
He's off.
Is there anybody else on the phone? Okay, so by my count, it passes 5-2. Next item, Councilman Williams.
Okay, do we have a card on 37?
Yes, we do.
I would move approval if you want a motion and then the card, or I could just,
All right, we have a motion on 37. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Greta Rogers, you are opposed to us applying to the Rockefeller Foundation for a Chief Resiliency Officer. Is that the right item? Come on down. Okay.
okay, can I include 50?
Rogers? You want to provide testimony on 37 and 50, or want to separate them, do separate comments on each?
37, and what was the other number?
50.
50?
50? Is that what you said?
Yes, that was the other item, which is the increased contract for temporary staffing services for early Head Start.
I have yes on my notations here for 50, to speak on 50 and 51.
Okay, we didn't get a card on 51. Just go let's
Well,
do 37.
don't worry about it.
Thank you very much.
Let's
37.
address what we're on right now.
Rockefeller Foundation Chief Resiliency Officer. Go.
This is profligate, feel-good crap. And even though you're going to get money, maybe, you didn't the last time you applied, from the Rockefeller Foundation, and the amount of money involved with the Rockefeller Foundation is like putting 2 cents in a cup. This is just nothing that is essential or necessary. You can address your attention, Mayor, to those things which are essential and necessary in the provision of governing services for this city. This is unnecessary. Forget it. Don't waste time. Thank you.
Very much, Ms. Rogers. We have a motion on 37. We have a second. Roll call.
DeCiccio. Gallego.
Yes.
Gates. Yes. Nowakowski.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Mayor Stanton.
Yes. Item passed unanimously. Next item, Councilman Williams.
I move approval of item 40.
All right, we have a motion on 40. You have a second?
Second.
Leonard Clark, 2 minutes. This is
Pesticides.
pesticides and herbicides.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Yes, my name is Leonard Clark. Thank you for letting me speak. And I understand we have federal laws that are already imposed on the use of pesticides, herbicides, and those things. But with all of the things that we're finding now, our scientists are finding that many congenital defects and all of these things are happening, that we are, I know that this is to specifically approve an amount of money, funding to use these things, but I'm just asking as a citizen that, you remember what happened with the lead paint back in the 70s and 80s, that I think we should start taking stronger looks at these poisons that we're using. We obviously have to keep our vectors and things like that down for sanitary purposes, but sometimes maybe we're doing much worse harm. So maybe you folks could like look into whether this could be causing an increase in the rates of our children being born with congenital defects and this type of thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Motion and a second. Roll call.
DeCiccio. Gallego.
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Noakowski. Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Mayor Stanton.
Yes. Next item.
Item 50, I move approval.
50, we have motion, we second. Greta Rogers indicated you were supporting the item. Did you want for testimony or not provide testimony?
It's the Head Start.
It's the Head Start item. Come on down, Herb.
We don't have a second.
Who's that? Okay, we need a second on item 50 before Ms. Rogers can.
Second.
Second, okay, excellent.
Does Ms. Rogers have any other cards?
Is Ms.
So
Rogers,
we
I
don't
think
run her legs
51
up?
maybe, or?
Okay.
Thank you much, Ms. Rogers. So Head Start.
This has to do with Head Start. And I'm not opposed to Head Start. It's been a program that's been around since the 60s. It was initiated when LBJ was president. And it's done tremendously good work for children, particularly children who are living in poverty or minimal circumstances. But I question the city's necessity for getting involved to this extent. We are not in the education business in this state, in the city. I'm not opposed to education. I'm a strong advocate of top drawer education, which I had the benefit of enjoying and being able to live a full life from. But this is not an obligation of a city government. I don't care whether it's Phoenix or any other city. And I don't think we should be involving ourselves in this. It isn't one of our essential required governing services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rogers. We have a motion. We have a second. Roll call.
DeCiccio. Gallego.
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Noakowski. Williams.
Yes.
Waring. Mayor Stanton.
Yes. Next item, Councilman Williams.
Is item 55, move approval?
55, remove approval. Leonard Clark, 2 minutes on, oh, we need a second. I'm sorry, we need a second. Leonard Clark, up to 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor and council member. This will be my last item, and I just want to let you guys know I still appreciate the work you're doing. You all have hearts, consciences, so please, if I have offended thee, I ask for your forgiveness, but, you know, people could know it back home that I'm not just here to give you compliments. See, you guys let me speak and you hear it out, and I really appreciate that as a citizen. On this item 55, I do believe I've watched a lot of documentaries, known people with canines, and I think that they're some of the best protection we could have. So this Homeland Security deal that we're doing with the 8 specialized canine teams, you know, they just did a special on History Channel or one of these. And to fight terrorism, you can use all the machines you want, but a dog, I forgot how many thousands of times better they smell, things that we can never smell. I just had a grilled cheese sandwich the other day, tried to hide it from my dogs. Well, forget that. You know, they knew, so they had to get a little bit of a piece of the sandwich. But, so anyways, I hope that you'll approve this. And I also, you know what, we don't have to have this side and over here, our law enforcement and our citizens over here, we can work together. I know it sounds corny, and I do. I fear for both our citizens and our officers in the city, and I also hope that our officers keep their eyes open, because we have these monsters from ISIS and their knives and their swords just attacking at will. So sorry, but they put their lives at risk, and I think these canines will be great. And the other thing is, are they a part of Phoenix's canine unit, or are they a part of the federal government coming in to help for the Super Bowl type deal? Because either way, but especially for City of Phoenix, I want to make sure the dogs are treated humanely. I've been here in the past when we retire them, and we make sure of that. So thank you. I'm just kind of curious about that. If there are, but you may not be able to answer, but you can answer me later, if those dog teams are going to be part of our police force, or they're just coming in temporarily.
Fair enough. Maybe we get an answer not right now, but we'll get you an answer on that. Roll call.
Part of our force.
They are part of our force. Just got the answer. There are dogs. Thank you. Roll call.
DeCiccio. Gallego.
Yes.
Gates.
Just real briefly before I vote, I just wanted to say to Mr. Clark, no hard feelings. Thank you for your service to our country, and thanks for the way you handle yourself down here at the chambers. We appreciate it. Yes.
Nowakowski. Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Stanton.
Yes. Next item, Councilwoman.
I would move item 61 without the emergency clause.
Okay, we have a motion for 61 without the emergency clause. Do we have a second? I will second that item. We have a few cards on item number 61. In favor, mostly in favor. Patrick Tobin, are you here to provide testimony on that item, or the motion is in favor? Neil Edwards, you want to provide testimony on this item? It's up to you. All right, if something comes up and the spirit moves you, jump in, but I know you're in favor of the item. Also donating time to Neil is Natasha Woods. Since he chose not to spoke, do you change your mind on that? Okay. There's something got mixed up here. Okay, no problem. So Mr. Oglesby, Ms. Woods has donated her time to you, so you have the opportunity to speak. And then I have Guillermo Leyva. Are you here? Okay, there was a little bit of confusion. So I think then, Mr. Oglesby, you have up to 4 minutes to provide testimony on this item, and you are opposed to the staff recommendation. Please come forward.
Thank you very much. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and esteemed council members. John Oglesby. I live in Denver, Colorado, but also have residence at 6202 East McKellips Road, Unit 288 in Mesa. I'm actually here to suggest a substitute motion. That wasn't one of the choices that there were. So technically, technically no, but a substitute. Phoenix, I've had the opportunity to work with a number of Super Bowls, in the Super Bowl committee, and work with John Drum with the Arizona Cardinals and others. I also do consulting for the National Football League. Mobile Now is an outstanding mobile payment provider, as is Pango, the company that is currently the staff recommendation. Well, what I would like to request is that the City Council consider a substitute motion and hire both of us, both Pango and Mobile Now. The City of Phoenix would become the very first major city in the United States to have multiple mobile payment providers, and Phoenix, of course, is well known for being innovative and creative. Pango is a fine organization. I've known them for a couple of years. Obviously, leading Mobile Now, I know that we're a fine organization, and there are strengths and benefits to both properties and both projects. There would not be a single dime of additional cost to the City of Phoenix. And in addition to that, it's important to know that our customized app, myparkphoenix.com, we would donate at no cost or for $1 for the city attorney if appropriate to have that name, and we could even share it with our friends with Pango. And that would, and our app actually can be ready in 2 weeks. So you could have it well in advance of Christmas or Hanukkah and other holiday and seasonal shopping, dramatically increasing what I believe is one of the goals, and that is to get NFL attendees to not only the game, but also the NFL experience and the NFL house. We think this is a win-win and a tremendous opportunity for the city of Phoenix. Mobile Now is currently in 55 cities. Throughout the United States, we have over 2 million customers in the city of Moscow alone. We're also in 12 other countries. No, Moscow is not currently in the United States, of course, but we've got 12 other countries that we're in as well. My Park Phoenix has been designed by our friends with Trigger, the software developers. You're probably familiar with another very famous product made by Trigger, and that's Skype. So our technology is rock solid. We think it's a great opportunity. We also have proposed that 2 cents of our modest transaction fee be provided to a Phoenix and or Arizona-based charity. And all of the discussion that has gone earlier this evening, although I think many of the advocates have left already, perhaps that would be a way to assist with the homeless issue that has been discussed here in a number of different times in a number of different areas. In addition to that, Mobile Now has an excellent proven merchant program, and I know that there have been a couple of questions with the changes to the parking program. It's also why we didn't file a formal protest. We did not want to cause difficulty, but we've got a great merchant program that can make it easier for citizens to come down and stay downtown. Our app also provides recommendations for other downtown Phoenix businesses where people can stay, generating not only parking income, but sales tax income, hotel, motel tax, et cetera. And I know that it's not just about the revenue, it's also about a great experience. And just like the Super Bowl requires 2 teams, why not be the very first city to offer 2 different opportunities? In addition to that, we can tie directly into the Phoenix request to service that allows citizens already to report potholes, broken meters, street lights. We can also handle library cards, parks and recreation, and a number of the other things that were mentioned here today could be provided to the city at no additional charge. I got a bunch of other stuff, but I think that's more than enough and would yield to any questions that there are, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
One last thing I'll say, this is probably a surprise to the city staffers, who did an excellent job, by the way, no matter what you decide. But because of the non-collusion, we thought it inappropriate to discuss this option either with Pango, who was hearing about this as well, as city staff. So please don't feel like this is anything other than an olive branch. We think it's a great solution, and I thought it inappropriate to offer it before because of the RFP process.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Okay, so we have a motion and a second in favor of staff recommendation, noting that the emergency clause that was not included in the motion. Mr. Oglesby has suggested a substitute motion. Is there any other I have no other cards on the item other than those. I'm turning to members of the council.
Hey, Mayor.
Councilman.
It's Jim. You're calling on me, Waring?
Vice Mayor?
Yes. Yeah, thank you. I met with these folks. We did a special publicly noticed meeting on, I think it was Monday. Just as, I generally tend to take meetings if people ask. And I think if it hasn't been covered already, I'm sorry, I had to drop off for a minute. Basically, in a year, this contract's up for renewal. So, we can definitely revisit this in a year if necessary, and our professional staff will let us know if they think it is necessary. So, I don't know if that would change anybody's mind about any motions that have been made. It's one of those things that I think, bottom line, we're not wedded to this forever, the current system. I'm prepared to vote for it today, but in a year, we'll just see how it's going.
Okay, so under the terms of the proposed, the recommendation from staff, it's considered a 12-month pilot program. I'm assuming there's an out clause if there are problems with this contractor that staff is recommending, but even under the best-case scenario, this would be back in a year.
I think, Mayor, what I was told was there's 2 years of renewables. Is that, maybe just ask staff if that's correct, but that was my interpretation, is that they could renew for a year, and then we could renew for another year after this. But you're right, it's a 1-year guarantee.
Okay, I'm sorry, I hope I didn't misstate it.
Mayor, Deputy City Manager Rick Neymark and Deputy Street Director Charlene Reynolds can answer the Vice Mayor's question.
Mayor, members of the council, the way that the RFP was written, it would provide for a 1-year pilot program, and then the department would have that opportunity, if the city so chooses, to recommend entering into 2 additional 2-year contracts for a maximum of 5 years total. But it would be at the sole discretion of the city whether or not it wanted to continue to enter into an agreement with Pango to provide these services.
So to Councilman or Vice Mayor Waring's question, if there were issues or problems in that year's time, we could choose, or even before then, we could choose to go out and do a new RFP for services.
Okay, I'm looking at the maker of the motions and ask, if we did this, it would be, any renewal of the contract would be at staff discretion. The question is, do we want them to come back before this council in 1 year for, specific approval of any extension?
I would at the very least like an update in a year or before a year.
Okay, so I think the request of the vice mayor is that before any renewal of contract happens, you come back and report to the council so we can give you direction as to what, as to whether we think the contract should continue. Is that-
Okay, so we are approving today the pilot project for 1 year, and you will come back to us with the option that we could possibly extend that, but you would bring it to us and we would make that decision. Is that correct?
We
That's what I would
understand that to be
prefer.
your motion, yes.
That's my
Okay.
motion.
Okay, so that is the motion, that this will come back in a 12-month period before this council, and before any renewal, this council will hear it. Councilman Gates.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a question to the maker of the motion of why you removed the emergency clause. I was
We
just-
don't have enough people to pass it.
Great point. Great reason to do that. But it doesn't show in any way your lack of enthusiasm for
No,
this item.
absolutely not.
Those are practical.
Yeah.
It just means I
Experience
can count.
matters. Councilman Gates, experience matters. All right. Other comments by members of this
Did
council?
you, I don't know who's still on the phone, but did you include me in the number you need for the E-clause? Because I did drop
Oh,
off
wait a
for a
minute.
minute, but I'm back.
We can do it
Yeah, I'm
now.
back.
All right,
Mayor-
I'm putting the emergency back on. I can't count.
Actually, Mayor, members of the council, we mistakenly put an emergency clause there, and we don't need it. So Councilwoman Williams was actually correct in her initial motion. It's
look
not an
for it.
ordinance, and it does take effect immediately, so it was our mistake.
Okay. Councilman Gates.
But I've been waiting for years for this ability, haven't I? We've been talking about this for years, so let's do this quickly. No, I'm just kidding. Boy, this is
Okay,
a
we'll
tough
keep-
room.
We'll keep the emergency.
All right, so Councilwoman Williams has suggested we keep the emergency clause in there for symbolic purposes to make Councilman Gates happy. All right. Councilwoman Gallego.
Very quick questions, because the councilman and I have a community meeting. Does it work with, could possibly as a payment solution for meters? And could you tell us a little bit that we're going to be marketing this heavily, because once you're down in the depths of a parking garage, it's late to download?
Give us the executive summary. If this contract is approved, what benefits will customers of metered parking get?
Mayor and Councilwoman Gallego, Pingo has proposed a very aggressive marketing program in English and Spanish. And so this is a convenient service for residents and visitors. And so they will have an opportunity, instead of looking for coins or using their credit cards, to pay for parking services. So it's a true convenient service.
Okay, other comments or questions? Roll call.
DeCiccio. Gallego.
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Noakowski. Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Mayor Stanton.
Yes, so the item passes unanimously. If possible, could you have the system up and running by 8 p.m. tonight so Councilman Gates can sleep well at night? All right.
It is up
next
and
item.
running in the Cityscape garage right now, Councilman, so you can go over there and do it.
Oh, we're now to item 65. I've moved that by itself. I believe it has a card.
That was taken
All right, 65. We have a motion on 65. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Frank Pacholi, you wish to provide testimony on item 65?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the mayor, to thank certain members of council, and mostly to thank the public for their sound defeat of Proposition 47. It was the right thing to do for the public. It was the right thing to do for the community and taxpayers. It was the right thing to do for city employees. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pacholi. I think you meant 487, but I know what you're saying. But anyway, Mr. President Louis Schmidt.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Louis Schmidt. Just want to echo what Mr. Pacholi just said. Thank you to the City Council for the direction. Thank you to the citizens of Phoenix for defeating Prop 487. So when they had the vote on November 4th, the city charter was going to be changed. The city charter is the document that guides the city, gives the city direction, and governs the city. So the citizens of Phoenix voted on the city charter to give specific direction to the city, whether to amend it or not. So I want to thank the council and all the voters of Phoenix for the vote to defeat Prop 487. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we have a motion. We have a second. Councilman.
I have to respond to that. Can't let that go by without a response. Unions won this one. You won this battle, but I think at the end of the day, unions won this battle. At the end of the day, the public is going to end up feeling the impact of not fixing the pension system through higher taxes and cuts in services. If you don't fix it, don't put something in place that's going to work, that's financially sustainable, you're going to have a problem long term. You're going to see it again this year. There's going to be an additional 18 million, 5 million to the general fund, and 12 million, or approximately 12 million is going to be from police and fire, and then 5 from the rest. So you got to fix it. If you don't fix the pension problem, you're going to have problems long term. And the way it is right now, it's not sustainable.
All right, thank you very much. Other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Next item, Councilwoman.
I would move 66 through 74.2, except for 70.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Next item.
Move item 70.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Leonard Clark, did you have testimony on 70? He took off? All right, and then Ms. Rogers, why accounts for the same? Ms. Rogers still here? She had left, okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second on 70. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Final item, Councilwoman.
It is a zoning case. I don't know if the council person wants to make the motion.
Move approval.
Second.
We now have a motion and a second. Do we need more, Mr. City Attorney, as the motion just has approval, we need more?
Oh,
More
and
specific.
adopt the related ordinance, I'm sure was included.
And adopt the related ordinance.
Move to approve and adopt the related ordinance. Do we have a second?
I second.
Any comments? Roll call.
DeCiccio. Gallego.
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Nowakowski.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Mayor Stanton.
Yes, item passed unanimously. No, there's no other further business for the City Council. This meeting is adjourned.